Good evening, everybody. Welcome and good evening. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Elk Grove Unified School Board for May 1st. I want to announce that the board met in closed session and the following actions were taken, all by unanimous vote. The board took action to non-reelect a first-year probationary employee for the 2018-19 school year. Also, the board took action to approve an agreement for the resignation of a certificated employee. And lastly, the board took action to issue charges for a certificated employee's immediate unpaid suspension and dismissal. In addition, I want to mention that today's meeting is being video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. Blue cards are available at the table just outside of the boardroom for anyone who wishes to address the board. If you wish to address the board, please complete a card and hand it to a staff member at the table to our right. Please be sure to indicate on that card whether the matter you wish to address is on the agenda or not on the agenda. If the matter is on the agenda, we'll assume you wish to speak when that item comes up, and we will hold your card until then. First item on our agenda is always the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's my pleasure to call up to the podium Linda and Dawn Dublin, our education partners from Harriet Eddy Middle School, along with Mr. Mark Benson, principal of Harriet Eddy Middle School. While my colleague, are they here with us yet? Oh, okay, come on up to the podium. And my colleague, Dr. Crystal Martinez-O'Leary, is going to tell everybody here some nice things about you and why we invited you here today.
Good evening. Harriet Eddy Middle School is honored to recognize Linda Dublin and her husband Don as our education partners. Linda, Dawn, and their daughters, Isabella, a junior at Laguna Creek High School, and Clarissa, an 8th grader at Harriet Eddy, have been active in supporting Harriet Eddy for a number of years. They have volunteered their time supporting a variety of student activities, including cultural fairs, mathletes, and our International Baccalaureate Initiative. In addition, they support our Elk Grove community by volunteering time for the Children's Receiving Home, Mustard Seed School, SPCA, and the Elk Grove Food Bank. Isabella and Carissa both served as officers for our National Junior Honor Society. Linda has served Elk Grove Unified by participating on the School Site Council PTO for Roy Herberger Elementary. Furthermore, she has also served on our Superintendent's Parent Advisory Council and the Finance Committee. Linda is also active in supporting the Elk Grove Regional Scholarship Foundation, and her family are truly dedicated to Harriet Eddy's founding principles of integrity, scholarship, and service. Harriet Eddy appreciates Linda's dedication to our school and our community. The Board of Education is proud to honor Linda Dublin and her family for their many contributions to Harriet Eddy Middle School and the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Would everyone please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anything you would like to say while Dr. O'Leary walks down there?
I'd just like to say, is Becky Davis in the room? Darn. She is the culprit here. She is the initiator. I've been an active participant of the Elk Grove Unified for the past 12 years. And it's because of her I've been voluntold. And I can't say no to her. So I like to honor her because I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this community. Also to the members of the board who appointed me for the Finance Committee. That is an honor and pleasure to have that opportunity to be part of this wonderful district. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next item is our high school student representative reports. Tonight, we have representatives from Franklin High School and Pleasant Grove High School. Welcome. First up, we're going to have our student report from Franklin High School. Please come on up.
Good evening, President Chiaris Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos.
My name is Ashley Rehal.
And my name is Serena Fenn. Franklin has been busy with many fun activities and events during the last quarter of the school year.
Since our last report, Term 4 is well underway, as students are working to finish the last stretch of the 2017-2018 school year. Block F, our annual academic awards night, took place on Monday, April 16th, where over 700 students were recognized for their outstanding GPAs and academic accomplishments throughout the school year. Seniors graduating with a GPA of 4.0 and above received a mason jar filled with treats to celebrate their hard work.
As AP test season approaches, students and teachers are both working hard to prepare for success on the advanced placement exams. In addition to the hours of preparation for AP tests, juniors and seniors took the SBAC test and CAS test throughout the last 2 weeks of April. We are confident that our students did well on these exams and will continue to do well on their AP tests this next weeks.
As the end of the school year approaches, preparations for Abbott Awards Night on May 9th and Senior Awards Night on May 10th are underway. We invite the board to attend both of these events, as you can see firsthand just how amazing our Wildcats really are.
Yesterday, with GPAs ranging from 4.5 to 4.7, our top 10 seniors were recognized at the Outstanding Scholar Recognition Dinner. This was a great event for our students and staff members to celebrate all the academic success of these top students during their 4 years at Franklin. We would like to thank Superintendent Hoffman and Director of Secondary Education, Ms. Finizzi, for attending.
The spring sports season has begun with baseball, softball, men's golf, swim, track and field, men's volleyball, and men's tennis. As our teams are approaching the ends of their seasons, they are preparing for postseason play. As of now, it appears all of our spring sports teams will qualify for the postseason, which is a huge accomplishment. We wish them well as they finish up Delta League play and enter the postseason.
A few weeks ago, 3 Franklin seniors took part of the spring signing ceremony here at the district office, in which they committed to their future colleges and various athletic scholarships. Jordan Lawrence for track and field committed to Portland State. Kara Smith from track and field committed to University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and Jackie Tan from tennis committed to the University of Pacific. We wish all our outstanding athletes the best and congratulate them for their unbelievable accomplishments. We still have a couple more student athletes receiving athletic scholarships in the upcoming days. We are very proud of our Wildcats and the work they do in their respective sports.
We would also like to congratulate our athletic director, Mike Cody, for being named the Sac Joaquin Section Athletic Director of the Year. This award is very well deserving for all the work that he does for Wildcat Athletics. Congrats, Mr. Cody.
Fourth term is always the busiest with our school year, as many activities take place on campus. On the night of Saturday, March 3rd, juniors celebrated a night in Paris at the Library Galleria for junior prom. The same day, seniors enjoyed themselves at the happiest place on earth for their senior trip at Disneyland. Both events were amazing and left our students with memories they will cherish forever.
Franklin's annual blood drive, held in the middle of March, was another success, as students and staff donated almost 200 pints of blood. On Friday, May 6th, Franklin's band put on their annual Band Fest, in which they displayed their musical talents while also bonding with the middle school students of Toby Johnson. The following week was Festival of the Arts Week. Each day of the week, students from the VAPA department demonstrated their talents during lunch. Each day highlighted a different group on campus. Our very own fusion dance company performed in the quad, ceramics displayed their amazing pottery, vocal mesmerized us with their beautiful harmonies, and band played some of our all-time favorites. The library was also filled with beautiful art pieces created by students for the whole community to view.
This Friday, Franklin will be hosting many visual and performing arts performances with band on campus at 6:30, Fusion Senior Showcase at 7 at the Cosumnes Oaks Performing Arts Center, and Franklin's Children Theater will be performing Beauty and the Beast at 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock on Friday in the Black Box Theater at Franklin. Fusion will also be performing on Saturday, and theater will have 2 shows on Saturday, one at 5 and another at 7. We would like to invite the members of the board and the rest of the community to come join us at these wonderful performances.
Last Wednesday, Franklin High School students and staff thanked our hardworking and dedicated parent volunteers at the annual Parent Appreciation Dinner. It was a huge success as we prepared and served dinner to more than 100 volunteers and thanked them for everything they have done to make Franklin High School such an amazing place.
This week, our Random Acts of Kindness commissioners are putting on their annual Racks Week. Numerous posters around campus promote kindness and acceptance. Each day of the week, commissioners engage in an activity to promote kindness, such as handing out candies, allowing students to send free friendgrams, handing out roses, and much more.
On May 11th, our annual Senior Goodbye Rally will take place. The rally will be filled with games, performances, and the traditional move of the classes, as freshmen become sophomores, sophomores become juniors, and juniors become seniors. The seniors will gather around to commemorate all the wonderful high school memories in their senior slideshow. Following the rally will be the Senior Goodbye Dance, where students will celebrate the last dance of the school year. We invite the board to attend both these events.
Seniors are also looking forward to many of their end-of-the-year activities, including the picnic at Sunsplash, Sober Grad Night at Strikes, and of course, graduation at the Golden One Center on May 23rd at 7.
President Cheryl Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos, we thank you for your time and consideration this evening. As a junior, I look forward to coming back and reporting to all of you again next year. Serena is a senior and will be graduating in a few weeks. She will be attending University of Nevada, Reno, and plans to major in biology. Thank you for the opportunity to share about all of the wonderful things happening at Franklin High School. We will see you next year.
Thank you, and congratulations. Next up, we're going to have our report from Pleasant Grove High School.
Good evening, President Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Mrs. Avalos. My name is Amanda Pangelinan
And my name is Avi Shanku.
from Pleasant Grove High School, and we are honored to be here tonight.
Pleasant Grove High School is finishing another successful year. Our students are getting ready to take AP tests such as AP Language and Composition, AP Government, and AP Psychology, and many more in the next 2 weeks. We all have been studying and working hard to show off our skills that we have learned all year from our amazing AP teachers. Our students have also been preparing for all their finals to end the 2017-2018 school year. In addition to our school's academic success, more than 75% of our student body qualified for Renaissance, which is an academic incentive program that provides students with homework passes, extra credit, and a chance to waive their finals. We are very proud of our Eagles and how much we have thrived throughout the year academically. We cannot wait for next year to keep up the good work.
These past 2 weeks, 98% of juniors took the English and math portion of the SBAC testing, and 93% of seniors took the science portion. 247 seniors received the Presidential Seal for their outstanding scores from last year's test.
Although we anticipate summer in the upcoming graduation, we are very sad to say goodbye to our senior Eagles. Our school has been very supportive of all our seniors in giving us many opportunities to enjoy the last months of their high school experience. On April 12th, we held our senior ball called Midnight in Paris at the Sheraton Hotel. Tomorrow, we will be holding our senior awards night, where each department chooses a student who has proudly represented their subject by showing off their amazing skills and ability all throughout their high school experience.
In other exciting news, PG's theater team put on an amazing play titled You Can't Take It With You. Our talented actors relive the story of two lovers named Alice Sycamore and Tony Kirby, played by the talented Alex Joe Monday and Amar Ansari, who come from two different families and are finding a way to make their relationship work. The show was a big hit and loved by all. Their last show was completely sold out. Also, our robotics team has been doing PG proud. They traveled to Houston for the second year now, and in this international competition, we placed 14th out of 70 teams in their heat. We also won the Creativity Award for having a complex elevator and cube intake design.
Our school's band has also had an incredible year. Winter Percussion got a triple superior at the Golden Empire competition. Jazz Band placed in the top 10% in the nation while at New York competition. Just this past weekend, our band traveled to Disneyland and marched down Main Street in one of the famous Disney parades. We are so proud of our talented equals.
We held our first Battle of the Classes rally where we played many games that were Winter Olympic themed, watched amazing performances by Soul Purpose, and had fun competing against each other. On April 10th, we had our parent luncheon where parents came, brought delicious food, and spent time with their children during their lunch.
In athletic news, all of our spring sports have been outstanding and qualified for playoffs this season. Our varsity baseball team is 4-5 as of right now, but still have a shot of making it into playoffs, and our varsity softball team is currently third in our league. Our varsity girls swim placed third, and our JV boys, girls, and varsity boys placed fourth overall at the swim playoffs last week. Our track team has been outstanding this season, and we are rooting for them this weekend at their championship.
On May 11th, the Senior Goodbye Rally will take place where seniors play games and enjoy looking back at their high school experience from a slideshow that will be played at the end of the rally. Also, Soul Purpose is working really hard to prepare their final showcase titled Legacy on May 12th. May 17th is the last day at school for our senior Eagles, and later that night they will be spending quality time with each other at Elk Grove Park for PG's annual Senior Sunset to end their senior year. Graduation will be held at the Golden One Arena on May 22nd, where we will see our seniors say goodbye to PG and hello to the next chapter in their lives.
Thank you for listening, and it has been a huge honor and pleasure to show off our school this past year. Go Eagles!
Thank you. Thank you, students, for those excellent reports. I'd like to recognize, if they're here, Ms. Chantel Elbiani on behalf of Principal of Franklin High School. And I see Hank Meyer, Principal of Pleasant Grove High School. And students, you are free to leave to get back to all that studying for AP tests. Next up, we have a bit of a treat. The students from Charles Mack Elementary School are here to show some of their work from their elementary student poetry presentations, and that will be presented by Ms. Donna Cherry.
Good evening, President Chavez Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. This evening you are in for quite a treat. These are the finalists from the Charles Mack Poetry Slam, and they will be presenting for you this evening. I'd like to ask Mr. Omar Field Ridley, the principal of Charles Mack, to come join me at the podium, and he will introduce and tell you a little bit more about the program.
Thank you, Ms. Cherry. Good evening, Scarman Principal, Chairman Chairs Espinoza, Board, and Mr. Hoffman. What you're going to see tonight is really one of the culminating activities from what has become a very big literacy night or literacy day at Charles Mack Elementary School. And on Dr. Seuss's birthday, we've really made a push to make sure that we get as many parents to this activity as possible, and also to have parent universities and make sure we have great literacy activities going on throughout the day. Our parent activities coordinator, Ms. Tara Versello, is actually here tonight. And she is a big part of what we do in regards to all of our parent activities. And so at the end of every activity, we sit down as a team and talk about what is it that we're going to do next time to make this an even bigger and even better presentation. And so we ended up coming up with our poetry slam. And we know that the district used to have something similar. And we said, you know what, it may not be a district thing that's brought back yet, but we can for sure bring it back to Charles Mack. And so tonight we have 9 performers. They have been practicing. They are fantastic. They were our finalists. And I know you didn't come here to hear me speak, so it's time to get started with them. Our first performer is Ayush Prasad with an original poem, Climate Change.
Great job.
Our next performer is Felix Boatwright with A Happy Child.
My house is lit and little house, a happy child am I. I laugh and play all day long. My heart never flies. I have a tree, a green, green tree. He shades me from the sun. And under it I often sit on my pillow.
Our next performer is Abril Lopez, performing For My Grandpa.
Granddad, Granddad, you are the best. I love you with mind and spirit and all of the rest. I heard you had cancer, that's what Mom told me. Just trust in the Lord and get your surgery. For Granddad, I love you, and you can't be replaced. You're always in my heart, and that can't be erased.
The next performer is Salma Kayson with an original poem, Starry Wishes.
A starry wish may not come true, but a starry wish is up to you. To be happy, sad, to wish it all away, or for it to stay. It all depends on a wish. A shooting star gives hope, but it is only an image of reality, a painting in gray. To be any color that you need. To be red, pink, green, yellow. It doesn't matter who you are. No one can change you. You stay the way you are. A star's wish may not come true, but a starry wish is up to you.
Our next performer, another original poem. This is by Sparrow Wilson, performing Memories.
My name is Sparrow Wilson, and I'll be performing a poem called Memory. M is for the memory of all my sisters and friends that I'll never forget. E is for the education that all my teachers gave me to prepare me for the rest of my life. M is for the moments that made me laugh, made me sad, and even made me cry. O is for outside walking the track. R is for remembering all the books I had to read to get my AR point. I is for imagining what it's going to be like in junior high. E is for eating Takis and candy outside on the bench. S is for savoring all the moments of 6th grade, and I hope you're never in. Thank you.
Our next performer is Dear Renee with Let America Be America Again by Langston Hughes. Our next performer is Andrea Cisneros with Natural Criminal.
Naturaleza criminal, natural criminal, by Francisco X. Alacrán. Soy un nómada en un país de centenarios. I am a nomad in a country of settlers. Una gota de aceite en un vaso de agua, a drop of oil in a glass of water, un nopal que florece en donde no se puede ni se debe florecer, a cactus flowering where one can and shouldn't flourish. Soy una herida todavía viva de la historia, and history's fresh and living in me. Mi crimen ha sido ser lo que he sido toda mi vida. My crime has been being what I've been all my life.
Our next performer is Fatima Castro Modas with Cesar Chavez.
Cesar was a worker in the fields where crops are grown. He moved from farm to farm because the land was not his own. The owners of the land gave workers very little pay. The workers could not rest and worked long hours every day. Cesar told the workers it's time to take a stand. Together, they could go on strike, then who would work the land? The workers stuck together and they got more pay. They won! Si se puede, Cesar said. Yes, it can be done.
And our last performer is Catalina Guerrero with doing Rosa Parks.
Go to the back of the bus, Rosa Parks. Go to the back and stay. No, I won't. I think that's unfair and I'm just too tired today. But everyone knows the rules, Rosa Parks. Everyone knows if you're black, you can't eat at white restaurants. And on buses, you sit at the back. So now it's time to move, Rosa Parks. No, I'm not moving at all. I've got a voice and I'm going to use it and thousands will hear the call. We're coming to sit with you, Rosa Parks. People black and white did say, we're coming to change America and bring equality here to stay.
So I want to say, I got the mic, so I'm going to take it just another minute here. First, thank you to my staff for coming. This was a great, great support of our students. And this was the first annual Poetry Slam. Just wait till next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening this evening. We hope that you really appreciated it. These were the finalists. Several other students participated too. And thank you, Mr. Field Ridley, for all that you do for Charles Mack, and to the entire staff for being here this evening. Thank you so much.
Excellent. As we gather the kids for a group shot, parents, if you want to come up to the front of the room to get a better picture, please do so. Staff, you're being asked to come to the front as well. Great job, students, and many thanks to all the staff and parents who helped make that happen. Next up, Ms. Sue Larson is going to present the recognition for James McKee Elementary and John Reith for their after-school programs, and my colleague, Mr. Madison, is going to assist with that recognition.
Good evening, President Chairez Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. This evening, we would like to recognize the Department of Learning Support Services and the Office of Expanded Learning as they honor James McKee Elementary School and John Reith Elementary School's after-school education and safety programs. And that's all I'm going to say at this time. I'm going to turn it over to Sanja, the Director of LSS, and to Erin Sipes, who's the Program Specialist for our two schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this time this evening. I just really wanted to say that the honor that we're recognizing tonight, the credit for that goes to our Program Specialist of After School, Erin Sipes, our community partner, Sacramento Chinese Community Center, and the amazing leaders at those two schools. So I'm going to have Erin explain.
Good evening, President Chairez Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. Learning Support Services would like to recognize the expanding learning programs at James McKee and John Reith Elementary Schools, as they have been awarded the Distinguished After-School Health, or DASH, Awards for their dedicated work with after-school students focused on healthy eating and physical activity. The Department of Education honored less than 3% of the programs in California with the DASH Award this year, and we are proud to say that James McKee and John Reith were among that upper echelon. LSS would like to recognize the site leadership and our community partners, Sacramento Chinese Community Service Center, for their admirable work and dedication to improving healthy behaviors for the youth at James McKee and John Reith. At this time, we would like to invite the principals and the Expanded Learning Site coordinators up to receive the awards. From James McKee Elementary, we have Drina Freeman and Maria Gonzalez. And from John Reith Elementary, we have Louise Rochford Gould and Rebecca Bonton. Thank you.
Congratulations again, and thank you for your work. We're moving on to our resolutions. First up, Mr. David Riley is going to present the resolution on Classified School Employees Week.
Brought a friend.
That's a good friend to bring.
Good evening, President Chairez Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. The California Legislature passed a measure in 1986 establishing Classified School Employees Week to recognize the valuable contributions and meaningful services that classified employees make to our schools. In honor of this event, the Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Education is asked to approve the attached resolution. I have with me this evening my good friend Jennifer Ballerini, president of AFSCME, and she's with me here this evening to ask you to adopt Resolution 76, 2017-18, which establishes Classified School Employees Week for the Elk Grove Unified School District as May 20 to 26, 2018.
Anything you'd like to add, Jennifer?
Just, I'm I'm happy to acknowledge the work the classified staff do, because we all know couldn't do it without us either.
Agreed. With that, colleagues, I'm going to call for a motion to adopt resolution number 76, which establishes Classified School Employees Week as May 20th through 26th, 2018 in the Elk Grove Unified School District. Moved by Ms. Allen, seconded by Mr. Bettis. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you. And don't go too far, Mr. Riley. You have one more with another friend.
And I have one more friend, yes. So thousands of communities will take time out on Wednesday, May 8th, to honor their local educators and to acknowledge the contributions they make to our lives. While it certainly takes many people to make a school succeed, National Teacher Day focuses on the teachers who work to make public schools great places for students to succeed in life. So I have with me my friend Kathleen Tijuan, president of the EGA, our Elk Grove Educators Association, and she's here with me to ask you to adopt Resolution 74, 2017-18, recognizing May 8, 2018 as Day of the Teacher in Elk Grove Unified School District.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything, Kathleen?
Just thank you for acknowledging all the work that we all do, not only teachers and certificated, but all of our classified employees as well. This is a joint effort, and your effort as well. We appreciate it all, including your effort. So thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, I'd like to call for a motion to adopt resolution number 74, which recognizes May 8th, 2018 as the Day of the Teacher in Elk Grove Unified School District.
Move. Second.
Moved by Ms. Albiani, seconded by Mr. Forcina. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And that passes unanimously. On behalf of the board, I want to thank our teachers and our classified staff for the work they do on behalf of our students. Next item is our request for student expulsions. If anyone wishes to address the board in closed session regarding student expulsion, let me know. I don't have any blue slips on that. Seeing none, I'm going to call for a motion to approve the request for student expulsions.
Move a request for expulsions.
Do we have a second? Moved by Mr. Forcina, seconded by Ms. Albiani. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And that passes unanimously. Next up, we have public comment. Quick reminder for those folks who have not participated in that before, you will be limited to 3 minutes. And there is a little clock and a stoplight up here, so you can keep track. First up is Mr. Gurpreet Singh, who will be followed by Cheryl Adams.
Good evening, President and the members of the Elk Grove Unified School District. Thank you for giving me some time to speak here. I didn't want to come here, but today I'm here. I have few things. Are there anywhere we know the policies, or let's say, what are the duties, or what the student counselors do in the schools, especially the high schools? We don't know. We, the parents, don't know what exactly their work is. Second thing is regarding teachers, with their way of working. Who is monitoring them? Because we, the parents and the students, if we try to point out that they're not doing their duties properly, we are afraid of any repercussion from them, because kids are afraid. They don't want us to say anything anywhere because they think their grade's going to be spoiled. And this is mostly for the students who are not A+ or who are not the brightest ones. They are the most of the time scared. The third thing is, many of the teachers out there, they think they're gods. very sorry to say that. They tell the students that nobody can, take their job away. They can do whatever they want to do. I'm not here to point out fingers or tell any, but I want somebody to be monitoring those things. I want somebody to be assessing their teachers in the school to see what they are doing, whether they are doing the duties properly or not, whether they are posting their grades in time or not. Why is it taking them 2 months to, grade a quiz? And when the students ask about it, oh, we'll get to it. So that's about, I wanted to say, I want somebody to be looking into these things. Somebody has to be there. If we are looking at those, the WU and all that student thing, why can't the principals be looking at that, seeing if the grades are put in or if the things are not done in time? Thank you for the time. I apologize, I didn't want to come here, but it took me a lot to come here after 6-7 months of thinking about it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Singh, just so you know, we're not able to respond directly to you.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but
I just wanted to make sure you knew, so I'm going to ask the
well,
superintendent.
I understand that.
That's okay.
That's why I just wanted it to be out there. Being a
Understood.
parent, like I already said,
Yeah.
we're scared, kids are scared, they don't want us to come.
Yeah, I just wanted to
had-
make sure you
yeah.
knew why we weren't
I
responding.
understand, I don't expect any answers, but
Right,
I wanted.
so I'm going to have the superintendent make sure somebody follows up with you. Thank you, sir. Next up, Cheryl Adams, who will be followed by, I believe it's Leslie Cannon.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Hoffman. My name is Cheryl Adams, and I am speaking on behalf of the staff at Franklin Elementary School. The teachers and staff at Franklin are often praised for the compassion that we show our students each and every day. We work very hard each day to provide our students with a quality education through that caring and commitment, along with delivering quality instruction and the standards that the Elk Grove District expects from us. In the spring of 2016, the superintendents of elementary ed and facilities came to our community proposing that with our help in passing the Measure M bonds, we would have a new school by the fall of 2018 due to our failing HVAC systems and our failing facilities in general. Now our district appears to be wavering on whether to build us a new school, and we are concerned. Consumnes River Elementary was 62 years old when they got a new school, and Dillard Elementary was 60 years old when they got a new school in 2015. Well, we're now 63 years old, and we're left wondering how old our school needs to get and how bad do our buildings need to be in order to get some attention. There is clearly a lack of equitability in our district facilities. As we know, the newer schools are equipped with the latest and greatest, while we at Franklin continue to see holes and water damage on our classroom ceilings, mice in our classrooms and office. And last year I was teaching PE in the MP room, and I was told by the principal to evacuate immediately because my students were at risk of being electrocuted because water got in the electrical system. I share a classroom with 3 other teachers along with the entire staff of the after-school program. My classroom also doubles as the staff workroom, the only one we have. And we host grade level meetings because we don't have anywhere else to do it. This is the same classroom that 3 years ago, we had to move a 5th grade class out because it was deemed to be unacceptable for learning, and several of the kids had bronchitis and other lung issues. And due also to the smell, and the HVAC wasn't working. Every classroom at Franklin has a story to tell about its age, its damage, and its special smells. Our community traffic is backed up sometimes a mile because we were built for about 200 students, and now we have 800. We've clearly outgrown our school. Our community staff and students at Franklin deserve to have better facilities that are at least equitable to the other schools in Elk Grove. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for our students to have the same opportunity to realize their full potential and show the same compassion that we show our students each and every day.
Please wrap up. You're over
I
time.
will. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. And we do want to thank Ms. Singh Allen for helping us. She's been supporting us, and we look forward to our community meeting in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Mr. Superintendent, I believe there is a meeting scheduled already to address this. Excellent, thank you. All right, next up is Leslie Cannon, who is on the ball, and will be followed by Julian Kenan. Just one at a time, though, if the next speaker could wait. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Cannon. Good morning, evening, board members and superintendent.
Can you
My name
pull
is
that
Leslie
mic a little
Cannon.
bit closer to you?
Yeah, if I come closer. Okay. My name is Leslie Cannon, and I am the mother of Julian Cannon, who will be next. He attends Cosumnes Oaks High School. Long story short, he was accused of stealing some earbuds. Teacher kind of put him on the spot in front of the class, accused him of stealing these earbuds, which he didn't take, which led to he told a parent that name my son. The teacher named my son. After school, I picked up my son. The parent came to my car and approached me and my son, pointing and cussing, calling my son a thief. And I had earlier emailed the teacher. I said, you didn't handle this before the parent. I said, you didn't handle that good. I said, you know, what really happened? Let's do some investigation first. But then later I greeted with this angry parent, you know, cussing and everything. She called 911. I'm sitting in my car vulnerable, you know, and she just pointing and it was awful. Anyway, which led to my son been given a citizen's arrest by the recommendation of the SRO officer. My son, first of all, did not steal the earbuds. The investigation was not complete. He has a promising career. He wants to play football. He wants to go to college. So now we're trying to backtrack and, you know, take care of everything, and it shouldn't even went that far. And it was like it was no big deal. I mean, the SRO officer is supposed to be there, you know, someone friendly, you know. And with the climate that's going around, they had my son in a room with 2 other officers, 3 police officers, questioning him, telling him, if you don't sign this citizen's arrest, you're going to jail. So he signed it. I'm like, what in the world is going on? They wouldn't let him call me. I had already told the officer, because he mentioned it he brought it up to the parent that this is what she can do, which I thought, why would you say that? And then they wouldn't even allow him to call me until he signed that paper. So meanwhile, we're waiting on a court date. You know, he got OCI on top of that, but that was enough. So I just want my voice to be heard, that something is wrong, and something has to change. It has to change. He is a real person, and he's afraid. He hasn't been to school this week because he's depressed. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Cannon. Next up, Julian Kenan, who will be followed by Lorraine Pryor.
Hello, I'm Julian, and I don't feel safe at school. But basically what my mom said, I was accused of stealing some headphones, and my teacher, of all people in the class, well, I sit 2 seats in front of the boy, and of all people in the class, I was, you know, targeted, and they all said that just him said that it was me, and he began to curse me out in front of everyone in the class, and he shouted like anything you can name. And my friend, she was recording the whole thing, but he yelled at her and told her to delete the video because he said that he didn't want them to, well, my teacher, Jordan Whitford, he yelled at her and told her to delete the video because he didn't want it to, want to get involved with the VP so it doesn't affect his job. And so he threatened to send me to OCI, and then I said I'll go. And then he says, never mind, he doesn't want me to go because then I'll have to write a statement. And then so I said, I'll just step outside. And then me stepping out, I called my mom. And then after the class, I went back to get my backpack. And then after school, he had told the parent that it was me, Mr. Whitford. And then she cussed me and my mom out in the parking lot. And the day after that, I got called in to the office to write a statement about what happened. And each day the story kept on changing of what that person, well, they would say that that the whole class, first they said the whole class said that I took the headphones, but then the story changed to I took the headphones and left immediately. And my question was, what happened in between that? Like, no one said anything about the argument I had with my teacher before that, so that's how I knew that it wasn't the truth what they were telling me. And I asked all my friends that they say that they called to the office, they said they'd never been called up. And then so the day after that, I think it was like 2 days after that, the officers called me to the office, and they said that if I don't they said, are you Julian Kenan, and looked at me up and down. And he called Mr. Francis, he called 3 other police officers into the room and closed the door and made me sign this citation. And he said, if I don't sign this SRO, I'll go to jail. And I really
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I need you to finish up.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes. No. No.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. Next up, Ms. Pryor.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First, I wanted to call your attention to that group of kids that was just over here taking a picture and how excited they seemed to be and how much they exuded the joy knowing that their principal and the other staff were here to kind of celebrate them. And that is the type of stuff that I want to see from the teenagers and their parents who are calling BYOP to complain about what's going on a lot of these campuses. In January when we met, I said to the public that BYOP would now function as a hub for complaints of this nature and that we would track complaints. And the reason that we said we would track complaints is we wanted to be able to establish a pattern of conduct on your campuses. Some of the complaints we've shared, others we've decided to just note and work those independently, just so we, again, can establish a pattern. What we've been able to look at and the things that we've been receiving, there seems to be a problem on Cosumnes Oaks campus in the way in which they mete out discipline to black boys, how they over-discipline black boys, and how they use the SROs to deliver the punishments instead of the administrators you have in place. So what I'm requesting on behalf of BYLP is the following information from Cosumnes Oaks High School. We would like to know how many students are sent to OSI. We want the breakdown, how often and who is sending them there, what teacher, to establish a pattern. Also, I want to know how often are SROs used in the commission of disciplinary actions. Number 3, I would like to know how many arrests have happened on CO's campus and the racial breakdown of said arrests. So I have several complaints on my desk from parents of CO and their parents of black boys including Leslie, who was just up here two people ago, and Julian, who I've been working with. There seems to be a problem. So I'm asking this board to please investigate that. As I told you in January, we're here to help be part of the solution, but we got to call a spade a spade. We can't fix something that we don't acknowledge is happening. So again, I would like to work with all of you to figure out what exactly is going on that campus. And I have talked to Miss Leslie and Julian, and if he does not feel safe, he should not be on that campus, and she should not send him back unless you make it safe for him. That includes his math teacher who's targeting him, the guy who's over his caseworker for his IEP, is that what it's called? IEP. We need to figure this out. Thank you.
Ms. Pryor, before you step away, that was, your list was a little too quick for me to write down. So are you, oh, look at that. Thank you so much. Better note taker than I am. All right. Thank you, Ms. Pryor. We'll be sure that somebody gets back to you. Excuse me, that is the end of public comment. Next up is consent agenda.
I'd like to call for a motion to approve items 1 through 19 on the consent agenda. Or I move to approve items 1 through 19 on the consent agenda. Apologies.
There we go. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Madison. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. I believe that passes unanimously. Thank you, colleagues. Next up, Ms. Pinkerton is going to present the progress report on race and educational equity in the district.
Good evening, President Chires Espinosa, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. So I have May 1st's update for race and educational equity, and there will be in 3 parts. I can pull it up if you like. So in the first part, I'll go over just administrative and management actions. The second part is based on a board member request to categorize the past reports, and then also our future reports that will be coming forward. So with regard to administration and management actions, in early April, the principal's discipline task force and cabinet members reviewed a new discipline-related board policy that will be brought to the Board of Education for review and approval at the May 15th board meeting. The added policy outlines the roles and responsibilities of school and/or district administrators and that of law enforcement related to student discipline. Also this evening, Ms. O'Reilly will be providing a comprehensive report on staff diversity and recruitment efforts. With regard to the board member request from the previous meeting, the request was to provide an overview of project team reports categorized by 6 strategies that emerged, which had summarized the board's comments from January 24th. Those 6 particular strategies were professional learning development, curriculum and instruction, school and community relationships, student-centered supports, opportunity and access, recruitment, hiring, and retention. Under the area of professional learning and development, what we had covered was equity-related professional development and staff training that was reported on March 20th. That had to do with the 2,400 attendees who had gone to race and equity-related training. And also it was a small report on some of the home visitation projects that were going on. With regard to curriculum and instruction, that report had to do with cultural and ethnic studies and contributions of diverse persons related to curriculum review. That was reported on March 7th. With regard to school and community relationships, there was a stakeholder communications and community engagement. There were 2 reports, once on February 16th and then again on March 7th. One had to do with the website and being able to have the information visible, and the other portion was the results of the community event or the community session forum that was held at Pleasant Grove High School, as well as the the process that we undergo when people have, people from the community want to offer their support, offer their volunteering, that we mentioned at that particular update that a director they'll be working with a particular director to go over the programs that they have. Then regarding a new report on race and educational equity webpage, we have uploaded, as requested, the Educational Equity Executive Summary, which was done on 4/6, and then also the Strategic Framework Plan, which was uploaded on 4/13. So that page has been fully updated. On student-centered supports, on March 7th, there was a report out on student voice that had to do with the things that were progressing with Pleasant Grove High School. And then also there was another report on school climate and incident reporting. It was reported twice, actually March 20th, it was March and April 17th, and that's when Mr. Steve Mate came up and provided an overview on a particular incident reporting system that we'd be looking at. With regard to opportunity and access, we did issue a press release that had a bit of a summary of several of the things that we've been working on to increase access for students with regard to AP honors and IB courses, as well as GATE and the new GATE criteria. On recruitment, hiring, and retention, we gave a report on April 17th about increasing staff diversity and creative approaches. Future reports will include the incident reporting system recommendation, the action that's needed, and then implementation. And then we will also be reporting out on discipline matrix update for district parent student handbook that's coming up, that's currently in development. And then lastly, another report will be given about a particular board policy regarding discipline roles and discipline matrix training.
So kind of putting this format together, one of the things we wanted to do is be able, in kind of one place, since we have so many different reports on the webpage now, we wanted to be able to have this one where it's kind of a summary, so the board could go to kind of a one place, one-stop shop to see what we've done so far and still the pieces that are coming. So that was the format piece. So thank you, Ms. Pinkerton, for putting it together in that way.
Colleagues, any questions? Ms. Pinkerton?
Just some comments. Thank you for laying it out this way. The last board meeting, I carry all of the progress reports, and sometimes it's just hard going through all the different papers to see what the asks were. So I'm definitely looking forward to the discipline presentation. That was an area of one of my top concern areas. So I'm very interested in seeing that presentation at our next board meeting, as well as our diversity report and our recruitment. As it relates to curriculum here, I believe there was a meeting, if I'm not mistaken, maybe last week, of the group. I don't know what they call it, some ethnic studies now or something along those lines. Can we get maybe a report out on what that meeting was about, just so that trying to compartmentalize the different stakeholders and how we're interfacing? It was brought to my attention about the meeting, and I couldn't attend, but I'm certainly interested, and I'm sure colleagues would want to know the outcome. Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Go ahead.
Thank you for the outline. I think it's helpful. Just also, I'm not sure how this ties in, but I know it was brought back to administration regarding the incident reporting and the different committees that might be working, or subgroups or teams. So I was just wondering later on if internally there could be a list, so we're aware of that, of who's on the committees, or the subgroups or teams by site down the road, if that could be summarized for us as well. Sure.
Right. I had just one quick follow-up. Thank you, Ms. Chairez Espinosa. And as it relates to the incident reporting system recommendation, it was mentioned at the last board meeting that there would be a committee or a group that's monitoring that, the incidents as they come in. So my ask, and I don't know how the others feel, that it would not be all administration, that there's sort of representation of the school, so that there's increased transparency and accountability. It's not under one department or sort of group of people.
Right, what you're referring to once it's implemented, or the logistics before it's actually
So
implementation.
that is just something that I just remembered that was something that was very important that I wanted to make sure.
Just a quick update on that, without getting into a report on it, as we'll bring it forward. A number of the questions that were asked regarding language and a couple other the IP addresses, we actually got really positive answers for those, so that it's actually moving in a really good direction. So when we bring it back, I think the board will be pleased with the progress.
Great, thank you.
very good. Now, on the bottom here, future reports, the incident reporting, does that a little bit like the discipline? What's the difference?
That was the piece that we showed last week, with the ability for students and/or parents to anonymously, if they want to, or they can share their contact information as well, so they can report incidents that they witness or experience.
Okay, that's what I'm concerned about. Is there going to be a place where, very similar to incidents that happen at a variety of schools, on issues that we were just testimony of earlier, like reporting to us?
So what kind of issues?
Very similar to what happened.
The discipline issues?
Yes, at
Mr.
Consumer Soaps.
Superintendent?
So people could report something along those lines. The idea is that if a student or a parent sees something or experiences something that they think is dangerous to themselves or to somebody else, or discriminatory towards themselves or somebody else, that they would have a confidential way to be able to report that. So if there was something similar that the student or parent wanted to share, they can do that. We also have, our regular communication lines open. Ms. Cannon and I have actually been in contact a couple of different times this week and working through. So it's just one more mechanism for communication. And we heard from our community that there's times where students and or parents might feel afraid or concerned about turning information in. So this is another mechanism for doing that, but it wouldn't eliminate the normal relationships that our principals have, and we get information all the time that way. This is just one more tool to be able to get information.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing. Mr. Madison, Mr. Fortuna, any questions, comments on this item? Go ahead, Mr. Madison.
Yeah, just a quick comment on the first one on the presentation coming up next month on the Principals Discipline Task Force on a new BC that will come out. I had a chance, I looked at that BC a little bit, and there's a lot of questions I have on it that I think needs to be tweaked based upon what we saw tonight as well too. So I'm looking forward to that. It's kind of long overdue.
Yeah, so it would be appreciated if you have comments and you want to forward those to us, so we can make some adjustments prior to the presentation, and then we can have an additional conversation the night of the presentation. The other piece I just want to say with regards to the board policy is really the 30,000-foot view. It's the board making the statement that we want to have very clear roles established between what our site administrators are responsible for doing and what our law enforcement partners are responsible for doing. That's the 30,000-foot view that sets the board making the statement that this is how we want things done. We're also working through a much more detailed administrative regulation that will go into the really nuts and bolts of how that will be carried out. So again, the board policy itself, 30,000-foot, setting the very clear parameters, but the parameters are broad. The AR will be, and that'll be coming and working on that as well. But usually the BC comes first, or the BP comes first, so we can set the parameters.
Okay. Yeah, I was just concerned because I didn't see much apparent that was in here. So.
Let me ask a quick follow-up question to that before I call Mr. Fortuna. About how much time do we foresee, I know the administrative regulation, as the name implies, does not come before the board, but about how much time do you foresee between the approval of the board policy and the completion of the AR in this case?
A very, very short time. We're already working through it. We actually have a session after tomorrow's cabinet, and our goal is to get the final draft of that ready to go, and we will give the board an opportunity to take a look at that. So that process is going. We also have a group of principals that is one of the groups that Dr. Martinez spoke to that will be looking at it as well. They already did take a look at the BP and provided some feedback with regards to that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Fortune.
Thank you. I have two. Excuse me. One is the board policy. that's coming up, and I appreciate the comment the superintendent made that it's the 30,000-foot view. I've spoken to Mr. Cerruti about that. I kind of need more of a 10-foot view. The proposed board policy at this point, while it gives some overview, and I only speak for myself, says nothing. And so I really am looking forward to that coming forward that has more specificity to it, because as it's utilized right now, could be clarified with administrative regulations, but I think the board needs to take a stronger position in terms of language. Then the second thing, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but for several board meetings, I have stated that I'm pleased that there's going to be an anonymous incident reporting system, and I have said, will we or will we not have an accompanying companion piece, and that is specifically a school site incident log utilized consistently that then has an attached follow-up report after investigation, because I don't see this as an either-or situation. I see it as both. One, you have the school site log utilized consistently when someone brings forth a concern. It doesn't matter who brings it forth or what it is, and the anonymous piece to deal with folks that aren't necessarily comfortable. So I'm still looking for, yeah, we're going to have a school site incident log, utilized consistency that has a follow-up report attached to it after investigation for everyone's protection. That's for the kid, the teacher, the staff, the district. It's just good practice.
Thank you, Mr. Forcina. So just a couple of things from me. I appreciate the recap on the work that has been done. Going forward under this item, I for one would really appreciate a better sense of the ongoing work and what we can expect to see in the future. And I know that some of that is here that you've addressed. We did have in public comment, for example, a very good illustration of why this board policy that's forthcoming is as important as it is, and exactly why I've been pushing so hard for it. So thank you for your work and all involved. I know we're pulling from all corners of the district to overhaul ourselves, so thank you very much for your presentation.
So just a comment that maybe this is a little bit of a tweak, but we'd be happy if we wanted to appoint a 2 or 3 person subcommittee to spend some time between now and when we bring the BP forward. I'm just thinking, trying to make the work as productive as possible. If we start 3 weeks from now before we have our next board meeting, and that's when the board gives us feedback, then we're another 2 weeks away before we can approve it. So if we wanted to pull together, I know graduations are coming up and everything, it's a crazy time of year, but we'd be open to doing that if that would be the pleasure of the board.
And I know we did talk about that previously, so thank you for reminding me. Is there interest, colleagues, in possibly doing a board subcommittee? So that would be 2 or 3 of us getting together, reviewing and discussing the board policy, and together submitting language. Okay. The meeting, well, we probably would want some district staff there to answer questions, but it would be a pretty tight turnaround. It would be in the next couple of weeks. So I anticipate we're going to have a lot of folks. I can already count more than will fit in a subcommittee for Brown Act. So if it's okay with folks, can people email me your interest, and I'll make those appointments in the next 48 hours so that we. By all means, if you want to tell me you're interested now, go for it. There's one, Ms. Singh Allen. Yes, Mr. Forcina, is that all we have? Anybody else? I thought I saw, okay. Right, the board policy, the upcoming board policy. Did you raise your hand, Tony? Okay. Chet, am I putting you into the mix there? that's what we're gonna do. Thank you for bowing out, Beth. Yeah, I figured we're all interested in this topic, so I'll find a way to try to be fair there. All right, thank you, colleagues. I will email you tomorrow so that we can get started on scheduling that work as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did have one more question. How will members of the public access the board policy in time to get feedback to us? So are they just going to have the regular 72-hour time frame to look at that? Because it will be posted with the next agenda.
I'm sorry. That will be when they have their opportunity. The first one isn't the board necessarily taking action. I think it would be a board discussion. We could have it on action if the board is ready, but my take is there'll probably be some feedback that we'll want to consider and being able to have the craft language done. So I think we're better off bringing it forward as a discussion item first, and we'll bring it back a second time for action.
Okay, much appreciated.
Yep.
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Robert Pierce is going to give our facilities update.
Thank you, President Chaitis Espinoza, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. Somewhat of a follow-up to a previous board communication where staff introduced to you that we were going to work towards an updated, brand-new educational specification. We did commission a detailed request for proposals, went through an elaborate selection process, interview process, and ultimately selecting a firm that will be presenting before you tonight. I want to share with you that this group not only has the expertise, but came together, 3 different entities to come together to form one conglomerate to help us along our path and facilitate a critical process for us moving forward. So we're very excited to present this information to you tonight under the banner of our facilities update. You'll hear a lot more from them. I don't want to steal their thunder about the importance of educational specifications. And I want to let you know not only they required by the California Department of Education on any new project that we're conducting, but they're absolutely critical to ensure that our projects are meeting the needs of our students, of our teachers, and our community as a whole. I will tell you it's been a very, very long time since our district has updated its educational specifications. And I want to thank Superintendent Hoffman. It starts at the top, and this is a fairly arduous process where you have to get outside the box. You have to challenge yourself with questions about what teaching and learning is going to look like into the future. And you have to get a little uncomfortable in those conversations. And so you will hear tonight a very engaging and collaborative process that's already started. It's going to continue through the rest of this school year into the summer and into the fall of next year. You'll hear a little bit more about what that looks like. At the end of this process, it very well may be that we as a district and a community decide that a 900 square foot rectangle with a teaching wall at the front of the room is the best way to deliver education. I doubt that we will find that, but we will go through a process to ensure not only our classrooms, but our entire spaces throughout our campus as well as our exterior environment are being developed in a way that will suit the 21st century. So it's critical again, and again, it starts with Superintendent Hoffman. He's been involved in all of these discussions. I want to thank everybody that's been involved from the leadership level all the way down to our classroom teachers, our classified staff who's been involved because this will affect them as well. And I sincerely want to thank them for their time. We're just beginning. It's in its infancy. I'm encouraged and excited about the process, and you'll hear a lot more that I think will excite you, and we will be keeping the board updated. As it reaches its finality, I believe it's something that'll go back to the architect subcommittee to talk about the details of the ed specs and how they'll drive the design of our future schools. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Heineke.
Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Good evening, President Chaitis Espinoza, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, Ms. Avalos. I'm very excited and happy tonight to present to you our first update to you on the EdSpec Revise project. As Mr. Pierce said, EdSpecs are a requirement, but they're also a very useful document. Provide the link between the learning system that has been developed over the past few years by our district and the learning environments that we want to provide gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a few members of our consultant team, Ms. Bobby Hill, Mr. Stephen Bingler, and Amy Yurko. And with that, I'll turn it over to them for their presentation.
Well, I have to tell you that those elementary poets are a hard act to follow.
Right.
And as a parent, I kind of want to thank you guys for doing that. I'm sure that every one of those children are going to remember that for a long time. Rob mentioned that our team came together. I want to give you a little bit of history. Everybody on our team, we have three members of our team, three different firms. When we heard about this RFP, I called Amy, and I and John, we go to national and international conferences and we sit on the same panels, or we give keynotes, and we're always competing with each other, right? And I said, you know what, I've been hearing about Elk Grove Unified School District almost all my career. And I said, I got a feeling that it would be a good idea for us to team up, because this might be an opportunity to do an educational specification that hasn't been done before. You know, maybe we can take the whole concept of education specifications to another level. So we talked about it, and after a while we came to the conclusion that would be a good idea. Each one of us bring different but very highly evolved work in the field of education facilities design. So I want to start off at least my little part of this presentation right now, and I'll wrap it up at the end, is that we're honored to be here. We're very excited about all of the people that we've met. We had a meeting yesterday with the CTE folks. We have a meeting, two meetings tomorrow with some advisories, and then we have a community meeting tomorrow night, and we're very fired up about the possibilities here. We've heard nothing but good and encouraging things so far. So what I would like to do is we have a very short presentation to make to you, and I'm going to ask Amy Yurko, our partner from Brain Spaces, if she would lead us in this part of this presentation. Thank you.
And great to meet you guys finally. Thank you. So I'm going to jump right in without any introduction, since it's three down the road. So one of the things that we want to recognize is and that we saw as we were looking into your district a little more, is how much work you've already done, and how much really the master planning effort is already defined, and that's really inspiring. We're not starting from nothing. We're not starting from zero and doing this whole thing over again. We're building upon the great work that's already happening. And we toured a bunch of your programs today and last time we were here, and saw it in action. So thank you for that opportunity to become aware of what you're already doing that's so terrific here. One thing that we want to recognize that we're showing here is that we start with what you've already done, the E4 ideas, and then begin to say, how do we translate that into what it means for facilities. So we know that how to support E4 is not just facilities, but that it's a whole system of other things, one of which is facilities. So recognizing what is our role in all of that, and how can perhaps we help the facilities be somewhat of a catalyst to help you push that agenda forward, or strengthen it, make it easier for your teachers and learners to live that E4 model. So recognizing we're part of the mix. And one of the things that I think is really exciting about being a school planner, school architect, I used to teach in my past as well, is that where we have been with school design and school planning has been very much about accommodating enrollments and demographic shifts, and we've been about what about technology, and how are we going to scramble to get that included in our classrooms, and some of these other things, and certainly complying with codes and state standards and testing and all these things. And we'd like to push it, as Stephen was mentioning, to a place that is more than that. that how can we make a system of environments that inspires learning, that inspires students, that inspires a new way of thinking and connecting kiddos to content through inspirational environments, through being a future aware, being connected, promoting the kind of learning that is required of this century and beyond. So, so we're very excited to shift that conversation from not leaving the conversation, but adding to the conversation to bring us into the kind of environments that are more inspirational in nature. And so we, again, not only looked at your E4, but your master planning and all the documents and the great work that went into those documents, but also your facilities has come up with the logic model for the ed specs, which we think is spectacular, and so happy that we don't have to reinvent that or we have to convince you guys of any of that because it's already been done. So thank you for doing that. And the summary there of a few points that are included. It's really not just about defining the environment, it's about inspiring teaching and learning. So we're all on the same page here. How are we going to get this done? We really think that it's most important to include as many voices as possible. The more we know, the more we know. And so we have created a participation framework that starts with a leadership type or team that includes a wide range of voices and that kind of helps steer the project in a way that's healthy and in the direction you need it to be. And that team is supported by what we're calling advisory teams, and that's elementary and secondary, so we can begin to dig deeper into the issues district-wide of that K-12 continuum. And then from there, we're meeting with both of those groups tomorrow, we will begin to identify focus groups where we can dive even deeper into specific topics like science or STEM or security. So we'll look at a variety of very specific topics as we drill deeper into the needs of facilities to support those specific groups and activities. So once we get through there, we may, and we have lots of blanks here, is we may realize that, you know, hey, the culinary program might actually be great to collaborate with a business program, which might actually help with community health. And so we're looking for opportunities to cross-pollinate. And so we're not really sure where that's going to go yet, but we like to kind of let the conversation go where it needs to go, as opposed to us directing it. We're facilitating it and look forward to some really terrific conversations about how things are cross-pollinating or could in the future. So you see a lot of blanks in there as well. The schedule, as was mentioned already, we have a timeline laid out, and it's I want to recognize that we understand the need of time. We also understand your schedule. You have a break, a summer break. You have multi-track, so we know that there's going to be some people to be able to meet with and some people not. So we want to recognize when you're going to be here and when your staff is available for us to work with them. We've already started adjusting this. For example, tomorrow's meetings with the advisory teams is we thought we would need one more than we originally planned. So we have that happening twice now in the schedule instead of once. And so, you know, this is a very fluid thing, and we're allowing the process to reveal itself to us, and we're going with it, keeping it within a certain track, but allowing some flexibility as we go along to explore things that come up. So we also want to recognize that the results of this ed spec need to be actionable, and they need to be buildable. So we're looking at the ed specs as if they will be equally able to be applied to new construction or modernization or additions. So we're looking at ed specs that can cross the gamut of what your facilities' needs are. And this slide shows an example of a pretty traditional building plan where the structure was used to the structure was maintained, but the spaces were completely reconfigured for 21st century learning. So where we might be used to seeing one hallway with classrooms down, along the hallway or along the walkway, we're looking for ways to make some changes even to existing facilities where you didn't ever think it was possible, to make them into spectacular learning environments that actually match the great programs that you're offering. That gets us to...
Hi, good evening. I'm Bobby Hill. I'm with Concordia. And before we open it for some questions, we did just want to remind you all that we're super excited to have a big kickoff tomorrow, a big public kickoff tomorrow with a meeting. We have over 170, almost 180 people who have RSVP'd to participate in that. And while in this RFP, we identified ourselves as the Dream Team, we know that the real members of the Dream Team are the community members and students and teachers and support faculty. And we are so excited to have so many of them participate, and we hope they will find this to be a very engaging time where they'll actually be sitting down and doing work. It's not going to be a lot of talking heads up in the front. We know that there's a lot of work that's been done, and we know that the people who are in the classrooms, in the schools, and out in the communities are the ones that can best inform this education specification development. So we hope you will share that with your constituents, encourage them to all come. They will enjoy themselves, and they'll be making a significant contribution to this work. So thank you very much.
I want to say one more thing, is that we committed also to ourselves and to everybody that we're working with. This is going to be a fun process. We kind of think of it, our work is very heavily community and stakeholder based. So I want to leave you with this idea, and that is that, you know, there's an old tradition of building barns, and I know this is an area where there have been a lot of barns built. And our experience is the most important thing about building the barn is the process of building the barn. And when people come together and do barn raising together, the thing that they end up with at the end is a lot more important than the object that they created. So that's why we want to encourage you to get on the phone tomorrow and talk to your constituents and encourage them to come to this meeting tomorrow night, because there can't be too many people at this meeting. I mean, we will accommodate everybody who comes. We love working with large groups of people. We love working with diverse groups of people. You know, bring them on. So we need your help to make sure that this process is as engaged and authentic as it can possibly be. We're not the experts, right? We're the facilitators. So we're here for questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions from presenters? Go ahead, Mr. Perchina.
Thank you. Super report. I just have a couple questions, and some deal with just explanation to me. On one of the slides, all right, we'll call it quickly. On the slide that talked about the EdSpec leadership team, can you, and it's probably focus groups, and I read it that way unless you tell me it's different. In the sections that deal with pre-K 6 and middle school and high, you have virtual school and homeschool. The intent is to bring in people from those specific groups to be part of the focus group and share what would enhance their ability to work with their students.
Yeah, and as you work down this table, the input gets a lot more detailed, and as it works back up, it becomes a lot more general. So ultimately, everything that's being developed at the lower levels will find its way back to the leadership team to make sure that we as a district actually can support that and see that in our future, but they'll be getting greater detail with the experts in those areas that are defined. That makes sense? Does that
Yes.
answer your question? But the quick answer is yes, we intend to be working with each of those individual groups.
Okay.
And they have spent a lot more time than they have shared with you to date. They've had countless meetings with numerous stakeholders. I think at the leadership team, we've already had 3 different meetings in a short time, and they'll continue to come back and give us feedback on what they're learning from these more detailed stakeholder groups.
Okay. With respect to getting parents and students involved in those focus groups, while I recognize and really appreciate and applaud the people who are always stepping forward to say, here I am, I'm ready to go to work, Have you talked about outreach to broaden the base so that we have representatives who might not necessarily participate in anything?
I'd be happy. Ms. Pinkerton's been great in getting this initial word out. I frankly didn't expect to see nearly 200 people RSVP to this first event tomorrow night at Eddy. We will continue that as much as we think it's warranted. Absolutely.
Great, and I like the fact that that we are going to be looking at alternatives to the traditional physical classroom layout of 200 years ago.
And with all due respect to the consultants, I did ask them to be brief tonight. They're being gracious. I can tell you Stephen has been involved with projects that involve 9,000 community members, post-Hurricane Katrina, rebuilding of New Orleans, doing stuff throughout the nation. So taking on these projects and communicating with these groups won't be a problem whatsoever. And it is super engaging. It's thought-provoking in order to open their minds to giving us additional ideas about what they'd want to see in our schools. So we're excited about that tomorrow night.
Great, and then the last one, just like our proposition oversight group,
right,
which is really broad, will those people specifically, but people in those representative groups also be part of the expanded focus groups?
Yeah, we had a Citizens Oversight Committee meeting last week, and I updated them on this process as well, and they're super excited to be part of it. Some of them will actually be there tomorrow night.
Great.
And whether or not we work with them individually as a group, we haven't decided yet. We'll see what their input is tomorrow night.
Super, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I really don't have any questions. I just want to say I'm impressed. There's 200 people already that's there. It's very encouraging. And I'm thrilled because of the size of our district that we can come in and we can really tweak it more and get some good productive ideas on our future schools and what's going on.
I'd like to just add one thing, and this is based on our experience over many years working with very large groups. So with a district that's this size, it's really important to have, various smaller groups and focus groups and
Yes.
and subject, specificity. But we also know that there's a place for everybody, and that is very critical. So that's why we have this large meeting in the beginning, and I believe at least another one at the end, so that everybody feels like they do have a chance to come to the table and participate, and it's not just left up to a few. So we're very committed to doing that.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Ms. Albiani.
First of all, nice to see you again. I think I ran into you guys on a tour today at CAMS. It's close to my heart is CTE. I'm very excited to hear about your CTE connections and the recognition of the value we put that on in Elk Grove on those programs. I met with Michelle Drake, and I am sure you will be reaching out to her, but I think there is definitely some room for improvement on food in our cafeterias and ways to serve kids quickly and with a different variety, and I hope to see that in the plan when it comes around. I have awards night tomorrow night that I'm committed to, so I cannot attend the meeting, which I would love to go to. Could we get a synopsis sent to the board for a BC afterwards to find out? Okay, I'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Page 5, I noticed, you have focus groups, pre-K, pre-6, middle, and high school. And I was wondering if you might have another group for maybe adult school or special ed. Because, within this school district, we're getting a lot of people throughout Northern California coming to our school district, and our special ed population is getting so big that I personally think our special ed facilities are outdated, and we need to update those and develop a special ed facility just for, K to junior college or whatever, or pre, So that's one of the concerns I have. And also we have schools within schools, academies within high schools. And so how are you going to deal with that within the plan? I'm wondering how you're going to, or people are going to bring that up to you. And I'm a big supporter of one-stop schools. They say, community, it takes a community to raise or raise a kid or whatever, or educate a kid or student. So I like to see, again, I always propose that clinics, or I like to see a school health clinic. I like to see an auditorium, a big auditorium. For instance, Florin High, you look over there, you don't see the auditoriums as big as the classroom. But anyway, there's needs, maybe that we need one big auditorium for the all 9 schools. That's what I like to see, and make money and produce plays for the whole community. Who knows how that's vision. I said special ed alternate schools. Also, some of our students, they cannot take these big high schools. They need a little bit smaller alternate schools and almost smaller classrooms, maybe as big as 15 or smaller, because there's issues they have there within what they come to us. So I was wondering if you have any plans to do that or address those issues later on. Also, I remember when I was a union rep, lawyers, when their contract language, they had actual contract language the size of their office. I was wondering why haven't teachers come to school districts and say, we want this amount of room space in our classroom, because that has been proven study that it produces and it's a good environment. So have you seen that through any other school districts demanding or talking about schools classroom size? And we talk about how many students we have in a classroom, but yet I haven't heard, or I haven't come across research that unions have come across, or teachers, a variety of teachers, or even counselors, how much actual room do they may need to order to do their job.
So California Department of Education has standards that we have to adhere to. The Division of State Architect has standards or requirements that we have to adhere to relative to the occupants in the space, how big the space must be. But you're correct. I've never seen a contract that talks about square footage. It obviously talks about class sizes. It kind of takes care of itself in that regard. Because of the requirements. But I will say yesterday we had a conversation just about classroom sizes. The number of very small classrooms that this district had at one point in time that we've overhauled and now made large. So we'll be having those conversations as well.
Okay, yes, because I know for the state of California, as I was saying, these lawyers actually have that contract language when they negotiate their contracts.
I feel like I picked the wrong profession.
Really?
Well, so, right, so I think, first of all, I think special ed, just, you had 6 things in there.
Oh, right.
No, I'm not going to get them all. But that we will be adding groups to the mix is a natural, that we will identify different groups that need to be part of the process, and either we would invite their participation in one of the focus groups we already have, or we would add one if we need to. So this is not a defined, absolute list, because every district is different, and we would tailor what we do to meet what you need us to address. So if we need, everybody call everything, we'll add one or
okay.
2. Yeah. So the other thing on special needs, we often see that special needs is part of every conversation, and so it's less of a standalone issue. Although we would certainly get into the topical, very focused conversations with a variety of different kinds of special needs spaces that would address different needs at different age levels and different grade configurations. But we also see that issue being part of every conversation. One of the things that's very exciting about education today is there's a lot more push-in of special needs. In other words, don't pull out a kid, fix them, and stick them back.
Right. Full inclusion. They call it full inclusion.
So luckily, I think it's a great time to be thinking that way. But we also need to look to the future about what if that changes again, and making sure that the building fits more like a mitten than a glove, so we have some wiggle room to address those things that change and evolve over time. And special needs is one of those that seems to be one of those things that's hard to put your arms around because it's constantly changing. sort of like technology is. There's a few of those issues that we constantly work through every conversation. And if we find the need to have additional specifics, we'll add those in.
Did I say anything about adult ed?
You did.
Okay, okay.
Same issue.
Okay.
And again, one of the things that we find about not only adult ed, but alternative ed, is to try to engage some of those kiddos that may have dropped out. What would have kept you here? What could we have done differently? You know, and pull those things in that we can provide their insights into the matter as well. So, did you want to say?
I wanted to address one of the questions.
Okay.
Mr. Perez, you and I don't know each other, but you are a man after my heart. In 1997, I wrote a policy for the U.S. Department of Education called Schools as Centers of Community. We've been designing schools, and we showed some of those at our meeting yesterday with CTE. We just finished, it was opened 2 years ago, a school in Emeryville called the Emeryville Center for Community Life. It's not called the Emeryville School. And the reason is because it's a collaboration, a joint venture between the Emeryville Unified School District and the Emeryville City Council. They co-funded the project. We had to get a law passed in the state legislature to allow these two public entities to actually work on a project together, which seems crazy. We think that we've saved taxpayers maybe 20%, not only the facility but the operations. So, and imagine all of the health clinics, senior center, teen center, all these things that are co-located on the site. So I applaud you for asking us that question. And I will tell you, be careful what you ask for, because you might get it.
I support it. Another thing, here's another thing. You know, a lot of our elementary schools and our communities are growing, and we're putting a lot of relocatables in these. There's a way to develop a classroom or a structure that instead of putting relocatables, you can put another layer on top of them, like teacher toys.
So when we talk
Have you seen that, the concept?
When you talk about the physical architectural solution, everything is on the table until it's not on the table.
Right.
And often we find that going vertically with schools is challenging structurally, but if it's until it's proven that it's not possible, then we will consider it. Another thing that you mentioned on the list was centralized community facilities, the theater kind of components and things like that. As Stephen and his group have done this all around the country, have looked into ways that schools can be centers of the community, but community elements can be centers of the school too.
Right.
You know, it's a bidirectional benefit to be able to have public buildings be multi-use, and so I think we'll explore those possibilities wherever it makes sense until it gets to a point where we find that it's not feasible. Then we will cross it off. But everything's on the table right now.
Okay. And
Mr. Perez, can you wrap up, please?
okay, as my understanding, we have a contract with the county of Sacramento for teaching at the facilities over here, Consumas. And I was wondering, have you seen something, a re-entry high school or setting for that particular population? Because that's a big issue, that recidivism coming back to the city or back to the community, but yet those job skills aren't there. I mean, that's why we have high recidivism of these inmates going back to different, and we're part of that educational system.
Can you comment on that contract, Rob?
I didn't follow your question. Ask it one more time.
Okay,
Are you talking about our contract with the county for the jail?
yes,
Okay.
but I don't see a transition, a vocational education or STEM transition.
Does this relate to facilities, Tony?
Yes, the facilities. I was wondering, anybody thought of maybe doing a facility for that population?
So when they're incarcerated, we are
They
not.
come back when they parole. They come back parole to our communities,
Oh,
but
Yeah, I can't weigh in on that. That would
okay.
involve a
We'll
lot
discuss
more
it later,
people
okay?
who know those details than do I.
Dr. Martinez-Alaire, anything?
I'd just like to thank you for the update in the report. I think it's an exciting time with a lot of innovation, and then the CTE programs and the Los Rios Community College, they're doing a lot of guided pathways. So I think it has a lot of potential for the technology and things to be in the classroom. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Excellent report. I really appreciated your comment about process of building the barn. That to me said a lot in terms of collaboration. I went to a conference with Rob, I don't know how many years ago. Hi, remember that in San Diego?
Yep.
It was a great conference, and I don't remember one of the breakouts or something of the ideal classroom,
Right.
and what that would cost.
So
That's always like that ugly thing dangling, the dollar signs.
in
of
the
what
group
something
that
cost.
the group we were lucky enough to have hired,
Yeah.
I can tell you in all of my conversations with them, because I'm quick to say, needs are unlimited, resources are incredibly limited. They are very mindful of the cost. In fact, they think you can do a heck of a lot for
That's
very
great.
little cost. And this won't be the design, right?
Right.
This won't be the architect. This plan will be a narrative that we give to the architect and says, your
Right.
design must meet these parameters, and we can still develop budget.
Right.
And you're right, even at that conference that we all sat to, and thank you to Superintendent
It's
Hoffman and for
inspiring,
you
and then
going.
it's like, well, you don't have enough money
Well,
for
it's
that.
scary too, because you think, gosh, can we really afford that? And do we have early adopters that can even teach in that environment, or will they want to teach in that environment? Or it's all of those
It's a
things
lot
that
of
we have to
components,
challenge
yeah.
ourselves on.
There was a lot of sort of that project-based learning overlap of just very, very creative and innovative, even furniture.
Right.
And what that does for a variety of students, colors. I mean, it was very interesting. So, but this is great. I look
The
forward
things that
to.
we say is the
Yes.
paint costs money, the color is free.
There you go. Okay. I still see green for money.
Yeah, this is not
As
a
a
good
school
example
board
of
member.
that, or maybe it is.
But I look forward to seeing this over, as this develops. But thank you so much for the partnership. Thank you very much to staff for the presentation. Wonderful meeting the team. Just a couple of questions and one comment. So the most common feedback I get is kind of the flip side of two questions or two viewpoints. One is people don't like it when their school feels cold and impersonal. And that is partially a resource question, but very much a design question. And the flip side of that is people, myself included, really love it when their school feels like a reflection of their community. So in these large group listening sessions, are you able to account for, plug people into parts of the district or their neighborhood schools?
Yes, we will be able to do that. And also, when we do these large groups, we have people actually working at tables of 6 to 8 people. So we are trying to get localized ideas and opinions, and expressing a community's culture is absolutely at the top of the list. So, and I think, again, in doing design specifications, we're not designing the building yet, but those elements of how
they want to feel.
a school can manifest that culture can certainly be laid out in the specifications. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, just a quick example, and I know we need to hurry. In these outreach groups, people are going to be giving us ideas just like that, and how important it is for the school to fit in with that community, and how that can be inviting. And then as you hire an architect, say, to modernize a Pleasant Grove Elementary versus a Union House Elementary, the input on how we make that wrap into the community will be slightly different within those two groups. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But the narrative behind why that's critical and what types of things you need to do to make sure the community feels welcome there will be in place to require that conversation to happen. Is that helpful?
Yes, and Rob, don't go away because the next question is also for you. So I'm very happy to see that staff is part of these focus groups.
Right.
Is tomorrow's event also an opportunity open to staff, or is that
Tomorrow's
not?
open to everybody.
Okay. All right. Do you know if we've publicized that to employees at all, invited teachers?
It's been broadcast in just about every forum that we have available to us.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So my one comment, because I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have already said, is just to reiterate how important it is that we look at universal design aspects going forward. I know some comments were made by one of my colleagues about, kind of a concentrated special ed campus, but as some of you noted, the wave of the future is in another direction. And so many of those universal design concepts serve all of our students and all of our employees, for that matter, better
better than the way we've done that historically. So just wanted to make my last pitch for that. Thank you very much for your presentation. Best of luck tomorrow.
Yeah. Next up, we have Mr. Riley with a recruitment update.
Good evening. We really know how to clear a room. Yes. So this evening we'll be presenting a presentation on recruitment and staff diversification. With me I have Director of Personnel Development, Shelley Clark, and Santi Pinkerton, our Director of Communications.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Can we take a
Absolutely.
short break? I don't feel we're giving you the attention required for the importance of this. And I have inadvertently passed you. Never ran a meeting, I'm sorry. I drew a little art over your B. It will be your night in 4 minutes. You are on deck. We can get everybody back up to the dais. I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Albiani. Any bargaining units wishing to address the board? I see one of our friends coming up.
Mine is short, very short. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Hoffman, and Ms. Avalos. First, I would like to say thank you to the district's bargaining team for all the work done to create our most recent bargaining agreement. The vote was certified today, having passed with a percentage of 93%. So we're very happy with that. Progress was made in many areas. However, some of our members were disappointed in the lack of progress in the area of special education. EGA leadership met with this specific group for over 2 hours to hear their concerns. So I wanted to share with you their major concern. Their main concern is that the demands of the job are requiring more and more time to meet the state and district mandates regarding IEPs. This includes the testing, writing the IEP, the meetings with the participants, and then rewriting the final IEP. And many of these steps have to be gone through even if a child does not get an IEP. So even though they may have a caseload of, say, 30 students, anyone else coming in, they still have to do this for. So there's hours and hours anymore to writing an IEP, much, much more than what there ever used to be. Now, we know that the district is aware of the issues that face special education teachers. We also know that committees have been and are being formed to tackle these issues. We all are hoping the committees will be able to address the concerns of the IEP compliance and seek solutions to support all EGUSD staff in developing and conducting IEPs. EGEA is hopeful that progress will be made this summer. Ideally, we hope some solutions will be found and implemented for the 2018-19 school year. Again, we thank you all for all your hard work this year and look forward to continuing our work in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other bargaining units wishing to address the board? Seeing none, we're moving on. Next up now, if Mr. Riley will please join us with a recruitment update.
Good evening once again. So I'll be presenting the recruitment and staff diversification along with my team member Shelley Clark, Director of Personnel Development in the Human Resources Department, and also Zanthi Pinkerton, our Communications Director. I do want to emphasize, team, the systematic approach we're taking to recruitment could not be it just would not be possible without the hard work of these two ladies. So some of the guiding questions for us in our work and for this presentation: how do we address the national shortage of educated and skilled staff in public education? And how do we move toward the goal of diversifying staff in order to reflect student populations more proportionally? So our approach to recruitment and retention of educational talent is multi-layered. It's very much a systematic approach. You can see some of the guiding principles there. Workforce planning. We're asking ourselves, are we strategic about workforce needs? Do we have the right organizational structure? And does our culture align to our structure? In terms of talent acquisition, are we accessing a robust talent pool for recruitment? Are we getting the right candidates? Selection and placement. Do our processes support strong selection? Are we choosing the right people? Onboarding. What does our turnover look like? Are we supporting new hires in order to ensure retention? Professional development. Are we developing our employees and leaders to be successful in their roles? Do we have training and development programs? And performance management. Are we managing performance effectively? Are we motivating quality performers? And are we deselecting employees who are not performing or who are not the right fit? I think it's safe to say we've made great progress in several of these areas, but it's also safe to say that there's room for great improvement. We are in the process of building training programs and systems for our employees to address these questions, and as with everything in an organization this large, it is a work in progress. But nonetheless, these are our guiding principles. I'll focus first on workforce planning. One thing that I'm particularly excited about, because it opens us up to a whole new universe, a way of looking at human capital, is our partnership with RED. And we're expanding and exploring the realms of human analytics. And together with RED, we're able to understand our current workforce and to project our needs with greater success. Some of the things we're looking at: attrition, shortages, and retirements, prompt recruitment and retention efforts. You can see from the chart there that our needs continue to grow from 15-16, where we were looking to fill 151 certificated positions, to next year, looking forward, 18-19, we're looking to fill 243 positions. So our task gets more and more difficult at a time where we are still in the depths of a teacher shortage. So our task is great, and you add on to that additional desire or goal to diversify. So at a time where we're still in the midst of a teacher shortage, our needs in this district are growing, and at the same time we have this concurrent goal of diversifying. It's a daunting task. So in terms of acceptance, inclusion, equity, all call for a focus on diversity. This graphic really represents just some of the prominent ethnicities that we have at each of our high schools. And you can see it varies from different areas of our school district. Our student-teacher ethnic compositions are disproportionate. That's no secret. You can see that the majority of our teachers' ethnic composition are white, where we have a very, very diverse student population with no singular demographic comprising more than 26%. What's interesting is that our student site admin ethnic compositions are more proportionate. For example, the example of the African American demographic, 13% of our students are African American, whereas 15% of our site administrators and district administrators are African American, just for an example. But you can still see we have disproportions in several of our demographic ethnicities. The teacher-student composition trend line, change of 1% is significant. So you can see down at the bottom, the solid lines, they represent our teaching staff. You can see a slight increase towards the end. The one thing that you have to keep in mind in terms of perspective is that with a teaching force of nearly 3,500 teachers, moving up 1% and closing that gap in terms of proportionality is no small feat and no small task. You have to bring in great numbers to move that mark. Just to disaggregate that a little bit, to look more specifically at specific ethnicities, for example, you can see the gap, the disproportion gap in our African American demographic is narrowing. One, because you can see a change in our student demographics from 07, 08 to 16, 17, 18% to 13%, and our percentage of teachers have gone from 4% to 5%. So we have a difference there of 8%. You can see the Hispanic demographic stays somewhat level in terms of disproportionality there. Our Asian population is interesting that our student Asian population is increasing, and our teacher population is increasing. Asian population is increasing as well, slightly. Whites are decreasing both in terms of teachers and students. And this was a prediction model that that RED put together based on looking back and forecasting those trends. You can see that if we don't do anything and keep doing the same things that we're doing, we see slight increases, but we don't see significant gains in closing that disproportionality. But we do see some indications of closing that gap. Other things that we look at: teacher turnover is occurring at early career age, 30s, and at retirement age, 60s. So, for obvious reasons, we lose a fair number of our teaching staff at retirement age. But these two graphs compare 2005 data to 2017. Very similar in the peaks and valleys, but you see a change in sort of volume because we just have more. The reasons for the departure from the teaching profession at the age of 30s, that's kind of at that time where many people, and I'm a good example, you know, through my 20s, living on my own, living in the city was fine, and then all of a sudden your life plans change. You meet someone and these little ones come along, and I went to administration, so I would be an example on that demographic of someone who left the teaching profession. Also, that's the age where, you know, people teach for a number of years, and then that is still at an age where they can do something else, and many people change careers. Talent acquisition, selection, and placement. So I'm going to turn over the presentation to my partner. Marcom. It's a new brand. It's very exciting.
We like to call it, it's not just a communications department, it's Marcom, so marketing and communications. If I could put in the PR in there somewhere, I'll make it fit. So strategic marketing and public relations plan can support recruitment needs. We look at branding, we look at advertising and a media plan, we look at public relations, outreach, word of mouth, and face-to-face. Those are all important components. When we look at branding, when you were looking at those principles that David introduced with, we are considering organizational structure, organizational culture. How do we interface? What do we look like to other people? What do we want to attract to us? And we develop brand messages around that. With regard to advertising then, when it comes time to producing the ads or producing the videos or whatever we're going to be putting out there, we need to think of how we're going to get those messages in a little tiny space and sometimes a big space. So that comes into the creative development. And that's for digital, online, print, video, as well as signage. And signage meaning job fairs. When we go to job fairs, how do we transcend what is advertising into an actual visual, three-dimensional space? The media, that's specifically a media plan, that means going and working with media outlets like the radio stations, cable stations, you name it, and putting a plan together so that we can then take our messages and deliver them out to a particular audience. That would be contemporary media, is digital, it's also social media, and then traditional print and broadcast media is part of that mix, as well as job boards and networks, and that's unique to the recruitment process. There's another media, if you will, with job boards, either at a university or through certain networks. I think some of them I had reported in the last board meeting for the equity update. There's a number of areas that we can tap into. But they have similar costs as similar to the other media. Marketing and audiences, that's where then we dive deep and say, so where do we want to target? What's our geo-targeting? What kind of multicultural markets do we want to tap into? And what are the talent profiles? Who are the people that we're going to be going after? If we're saying we want to attract the best and the brightest, how do we then work with the media outlets to make sure that our messages are getting to those folks? Public relations, outreach, word of mouth, face-to-face, those things involve our media outreach, that's PR, job fairs, cohort development, university partnerships, business partnerships, and economic development partnerships. And one of our biggest advocates, our group of advocates, has been our parents. Whenever we send a message out, when a message comes from Shelley or from HR department saying we have a job fair coming, majority of our hits come from those emails, which means our parents are the ones who are really supporting us, sharing the news, making sure either their own kids are applying, or neighbors or distant relatives to come and live in this area. So but word of mouth and face-to-face are two of our most, I think, important parts. So when it comes to communicating our structure or our organizational structure, our culture, we have to look at, are we at least providing, when we introduce ourselves to people, can we at least tell them we have the basics? So do we have safe, schools? They want to know we have safe schools and flexible learning environments, and we do. And we like to tell them how many schools we have and the demographic or the breakup of those schools. We also tell them about the Measure M projects, and then we're also make sure we promote the 21st century learning with the ed specs coming forward. If they want to know who our students are, part of that is also knowing that we have programs for our students. interventions, supports, positive behavior, etc. And they also will have great students to teach. When it comes to the employees, if you're an employee wanting to come and work here, you're wondering what about the materials and the supports and the professional development that you have. And then when it comes to being competitive, we have definitely some good programs for being competitive with retirement and pension and other employee benefits. We have a high ADA with an attendance rate, and we have some great new innovations with the LCAP and site budget planning. So our branding and key messages align to our structure and to our culture in that we've established this year we are Elk Grove Unified, which is we are educators, we're graduates, we're unified, we're success, and we are determined. And those messages we're hearing are getting out, especially when you meet a stranger and they say, oh, I heard this, and it came from one of our key message points. We are also out there saying we're attracting the best and the brightest, and we are the future. Elk Grove Unified is the 5th largest school district in California. We educate the citizens of the 6th most powerful economy in the world. And in Sacramento County, Elk Grove Unified is building a brighter future, one student at a time. And then we also make sure we incorporate some incentives that we have with regard to the 15-year placement, getting placed on step 16, which has been encouraging a lot of those folks who are in that just after that 30 age to want to come and apply with us. And then we influence equitable change in one of the most diverse regions in the nation. So then from our branding, we get into the advertising, and this is just an example of some of the ads that we've created specifically for recruitment. I also put a report together so you could see the breadth of the advertising that we have. It's just too much to put in this one presentation. But I did want to play at least the video ad. That's the newest one. It'll be running between now and June. It'll take us all the way through to the end of this of the And this ad is meant to go not locally, but more externally to San Diego, to the Bay Area. It's not meant for here in this area.
San Francisco and Napa, the Sacramento area. Why should you teach in Elk Grove Unified in California? Averaging 270 days of sunshine year-round, Elk Grove Unified sits just south of the state capital and is a short drive away from Lake Tahoe, San Francisco, and Napa. The Sacramento area is the second best region for home ownership in California. Elk Grove Unified is one of the most diverse districts in the Sacramento area, educating the citizens of one of the most powerful economies in the world. Elk Grove Unified offers competitive salaries, benefits, and provides all the support you will need to have a rewarding and lasting career as an educator. Come check us out. For more information, visit egusd.net.
And then once you're there, you can also click then on the career opportunities, which takes you directly to our website and or to EdJoin, so you can look and apply. The video itself, we're going to have to look in the year coming forward for some new production. We made the most that we could out of what we had already produced for the last 2 years, and it's just we know that there's some gaps from a diversity standpoint that we need to fill, and just there's some other imagery that's now updated that we want to make sure gets in there. So those are the ads, and then there's a radio ad in Spanish. La Buena has been a great partner with helping us translate the radio copy into Spanish and get that on the air as well. So with wide coverage on multiple media outlets, that also increased, I'm going to go into our job fairs, that increased walk-ins for the job fairs. So we've had great participation from Fox 40, CBS 13s, also Good Day, KCRA in the past, and et cetera. But CBS has been really working with us for the most part to get the word out. And that included for the certificated job fairs, as well as the school bus drivers, the message getting that out, and then we're hoping that they'll come and at least cover some more on the classified side. So strategic outreach with media helps, as well as higher ed and business partners. And what's been important is now they're getting down into the word of mouth and getting into the face-to-face and starting to look at job fairs or going to cohorts directly. And this is where the Human Resources Department has been great, but Shelley's been going out, her team has been going out to attend all of these different job fairs and meet with cohorts. So you're looking at San Joaquin job fairs, Sac State, career fairs, National University, Alliant University. These are all very local groups that we work with. And then we have our own on-site district recruitment, both for certificated and classified. And then we've been just getting into more diversity-focused and virtual job fairs. And the virtual job fair is very interesting. We tried it out this last week. There's some tweaks that the organization has to work through, but it was a really interesting way to actually chat with people who are interested in working with your district. And this is just an example of taking our messages and our advertising into a three-dimensional space. But the most important thing is making sure there are people there, administrators and other folks who can answer questions about what it's like to work in Elk Grove Unified. The other parts that we have that's been really important, especially for people wanting to come, if they're coming from the East Bay, if they're coming from Southern California, is are we encouraging just them, or are we also utilizing our partners? So City of Elk Grove and their Economic Development Department has been a great resource and partner, and we're also reaching out to the City of Sacramento with the Economic Development Group for Greater Sacramento, and then we also work with Rancho Cordova. CSD has also been a very good partner, and then REMAX, when you want to relocate, has really been a strong influence for helping people make their final decision to actually say, yes, I think I can do this. When we did the Traveling Bay Area Recruitment Fair last year, it had a very good result, and I think I can let David talk about this one just a little bit more, but it was the first time we took our recruitment fair on the road, and with kind of a mini staff, a smaller version of what we have here. But out of 95 interviews, and there were one-to-one interviews, even though that number is smaller than what we attract here, at the same time, 25 out of 95 were hired, which is significant. And 1 out of 25 was non-reelected. 12 out of the 25 candidates hired are underrepresented minorities. So it was a very targeted event, and it produced great results. And then the total cost of the event was $10,000, which could equate, when you're looking at salaries, to $2.5 to $2.7 million in annual labor costs.
Yeah, I think the key to success with that event, even though it made me one of the least popular former colleagues in that area, was the idea of this one-stop shop. People came here, they learned about Elk Grove, they heard from CSD, they got a presentation from the City of Elk Grove, they could talk to a real estate agent, they got an interview, they got information about the school district, so they could walk in and walk out with all the information, and that was sort of the strategy. We didn't want any question marks left. That sounds good, I like the school district, but I wonder what the housing market's like. I wonder what it would be like to raise children in that community. All those questions were addressed, so we had people really, really excited, and I think that's why we had so much success with that event.
So these are just some statistics then of the job fair that we had most recently in March. 97% of the job fair attendees who were surveyed stated that the fair met or exceeded their expectations. They were very happy with what they had. There was about 85% turnout. 75% of those surveyed were looking for teaching positions, and about 94% of those surveyed planned to apply or had already applied. And we had hosted 584 interviews on that day, with 76 administrator interviews, 456 certificated interviews, and then 52 special education interviews. And we included the map as a background so you can kind of see the marketing that we were doing specifically for this was to go out to areas beyond Sacramento, and we were able to get people who registered who were from Oregon, California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Texas, Kansas, Illinois, Indiana, and Virginia, and Qatar and the Philippines. I didn't see the person from Qatar, but I do remember people were from different areas of the country. And then within California, there were several who came up from Southern California, several from the Oakland area, where we had heavily, targeted. And then the job fair, just the traffic. This is last year's job fair. This was sort of split. You see the one spike right around just before the beginning of March, and that's when we had the San Francisco event. And then afterwards, we had more of sort of people interested in coming to our site. This is just web analytics, looking at how many people actually clicked when they saw something. They clicked on the link that took them to the job fair page, which tells you about the job fair. And you can see that there was great interest, and then it kind of died. There was a first initial interest, died down, really grew, died down a little bit, and then you had two significant peaks just before right around the job fair time. This year, very different result. We launched early. We didn't have the San Francisco event, and it was fairly flat for most of the part. It got some initial reaction, but then as soon as we launched social media, it really picked up. And then again, the school messenger reminder, which is just an email out to families, that again boosted the number of people who said they were going to be coming. So our next job fair that we're going to be having will be June 5th. That's specifically for classified, but of course we won't be turning away any certificated applicants. We still have space for administrators, teachers, nurses, and we're going to be welcoming them to apply on EdJoin. And with that, I'll give this over to David in terms of the other last column that I had talked about in terms of just our core, what do we offer. We have great competitive total compensation. And that's one of the key things. It's not always the first thing on a person's mind when they're coming to work here, but it's one of the things that can help make their final decision. So I'll turn it over to David.
Thank you. Yes, in line of that one-stop shop, if you have come to one of our events, you'll see that in this room we have Egbert present, we have employees from our benefits department also present. So again, this idea of people can come in and a one-stop, they can get all the information that they need. I like the salary schedule, but what is the benefit package like? What is Egbert? What are lifetime benefits? They can really see the entire package. So we'll make sure that people, when they leave, they have a full understanding of everything that they can come and enjoy and work for. Negotiated agreements to assist recruitment. We really hit the ground running with that piece, and for your consideration later this evening is the acceptance of the TA with EGA that I'm proud to announce that we've graduated from pilot status, and in the TA you'll see that the new transfer structure would be in the contract. That is huge, because for many, many years in the school district we were not able to go to the outside to look for new folks until May or June. And in our business of recruitment, it's over by then. It's over. So to be able to get out there and talk to people from the outside and actually offer them contract as early as the first week of March, that was a game changer, and now that's a permanent game change. The increase to experience placement on the salary schedule, that was also successful, and that also helps because when we saw a lot of people departing in the 30s, other school districts see that as well, and where a lot of people are going, they may not be leaving the profession, but they're going to look for something more affordable. Their life goals change, they want to settle down, they want to have children, they want to own a home, and that's where our real opportunity is in terms of focusing our recruitment efforts in the Bay Area, in areas of Los Angeles, in areas of San Diego where the cost of living is much, much higher than here. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Shelley Clark to talk about people development.
Hi there. So in the last 2 years since I've been in this position, there's a few endeavors that we've been working on. One is our National University cohort. We began that at the beginning of this current school year, so it's a 2-semester program. So where we offered up 12 positions to some of our seated special education teachers who are looking to seek a special certification. Under this special certification, it really broadens their ability to be in more demanding positions, and so we're excited as they graduate or officially earn that certification at the end of this year that it'll build capacity in terms of what they're able to do coming to the next school year. Additionally, around the same time, we were fortunate enough to earn one of the largest awards through CTC's grant that is there to bolster classified employees transitioning into certificated positions. We were awarded 20 positions, so by that, we were able to take 20 classified employees of ours, and we're working in a 6th semester, so they are finishing up semester 2. They'll go into semester 3 and 4 next year, obviously, and by 5 and 6 they'll be full-time interns, hopefully with Elk Grove Unified School District, with the concept of they're giving us at least 3 years back of service, serving in one of 2 opportunities. They're earning a dual credential, so multiple subject or special at a mild mod special education credential. In addition to that 20, I did some soft advertising. I was able to rope in a current substitute teacher who's joined in the cohort. She's paying her own way, but she too is earning that dual credential. The beauty of that is we're able to offer these courses on a district property, so we save them the time and energy of driving out to Sac State, and they like that, and we're covering all costs. So the grant itself only allows for $4,000 per applicant per year. So we're having to supplement that with roughly $5,000 from the school district per applicant per year. I'm working with numerous other departments to kind of offset some of those costs, but moving forward, that's something that I know David will be working on with consideration. So in that work that I've been fortunate enough to do with CSUS recently as last week, week before last, I met with the top of CSUS, and they now are so trusting of Elk Grove that they have agreed to go into collaboration with us on a continual cohort in dual program, mild, moderate, and multiple subject. In addition, for the first time ever, drum roll please, a cohort of mod severe students, so or teachers who are seeking their mod severe certification. That's really exciting news for us, because although the mod or the mild moderate is wonderful to have, our numbers are rapidly outpacing that need in the mod severe realm. So, and the other beauty of that partnership, again, we're looking to host all of those classes on Elk Grove school properties. We won't be able at this time to offer any compensation towards that. However, we will be partnering with them on utilizing our own people to serve as the instructors in those classes, which I believe has a whole nother layer of wonderfulness to it. You know, let me see. We spoke about the dual credential program. Of those 21 members I already shared, 20 of them are current classified employees, most of which are paraeducators, but we have a yard duty in there. We have a couple of like SOA type positions in there. So, and some of them already are early transitioning into current intern positions because they're such strong students. They've been working in the classrooms, in these special need classrooms. 8 of those 21 candidates are underrepresented minorities. And what's interesting about that is when we went out to seek, you know, at what part of continuum of learning we were going to jump into this grant, because it could have backed up all the way before someone had earned a bachelor's or a through credential, and we decided we would just target our classified employees who already had bachelor's degrees, not really having a handle on what that number looked like because our data point showed it roughly 100. But we now know it's much more than that, because out of 2 informationals that were standing room only at 75 people apiece, 150 classified employees in our district are currently interested in earning their teaching credentials in special education and have bachelor's degrees. And if you were to look around the audience, you quickly could gather, myself and the dean of CSUS, we both were like, this is the population we're all clamoring to get, and they're clamoring to get into our programs, and we're clamoring to get into our classrooms. So we've since looked at, wow, we have this internal pot of gold that we would like to consistently keep tapping into. So that's rather interesting. And again, of those 5 of the 21, those candidates are also bilingual. So really just a little pot of gold for us. In addition, with that collaboration project with Sac State recently received 2 different grants. One is to bolster future teachers of America, and the other is to really target Spanish-speaking students. And so they came to us. They have done a lot of work over the years at Florin High School, and with our recent strengthened relationship with Human Resources, asked if I would be willing to kind of help them broaden out beyond what they're already doing there to other high schools. So with that, we've decided to target 4 different schools with this grant dollar, with these grant dollars. And in the beginning stages, it's a future teachers club, basically. We're targeting Florian High School, a Valley High School, Monterey Trail High School, and one of our adult, not one of our adults, sorry, it's late. Alternative ed, thank you. High schools will be all part of this project with the whole goal of eventually turning into a CT, or eventually turning into a pathway. So we have to start small and we'll get there. Recently, David allowed me to go look at a high school in San Jose who's already doing this in one of their alternative ed schools, and it's super exciting. So some really great things moving forward, because when we're looking at recruitment, just going out to the universities, like I said earlier, are having the same problems that we are in terms of who's coming through the door to interview. That, they're not getting the numbers of diversity that's reflective of our community into their programs as well. We have it in our schools right now. So one of the projects Zanthi and I talked about was glamorizing teaching, starting in the classroom, in elementary, and then of course through secondary. So some really fun things on the horizon.
Yeah, in our effort to glamorize education, we might have to bring Miss Cherry back on a routine basis as an example of how glamorous education can be. So as you can see, we've got strategies to look outward and to attract, but we also have strategies to look inward. This is not a one type of approach dilemma that we have, or challenge, I should say. Onboarding performance management. So part of the equation here is also, once we get people in the family, in the organization, how do we keep them? So we're looking at current and future endeavors to retain, motivate, and develop people. Leadership and community, new approaches to interview panels and hiring practices. Do we have missed opportunities to provide professional development through the interview process itself? That's a professional development exercise. I know, speaking for myself, I learned how to interview by sitting for many years on interview panels. Onboarding training, we've expanded training to our substitutes and all staff coming in. Continue professional development endeavors with substitutes and paraprofessionals. We just can't have people stagnant, as Superintendent Hoffman always says, it's about adults improving. So we have to be very intentional and deliberate, and we have to open, in terms of equity, open the opportunity to everyone. So through our partnerships with Frontline, and Shelley has done tremendous work with that company, we have combinations of online and through our CPL department to give regular, ongoing professional development to substitutes and paraprofessionals. And I do want to tip my hat to our special education department, and particularly Doug Phillips. Doug Phillips has been a tremendous partner with Shelley in that endeavor. And you can see from the turnout that we've had in the paraprofessionals making career choices to go into teaching, a lot of that was tapped, and the catalyst was that by sparking that interest in the professional development, building the confidence, and having those folks see themselves as the teacher in the classroom. That's a huge part of this. Of course, the Arbinger training mentor teachers, focus on student, teacher, and intern experience. We really want to focus on fostering and providing a great experience for our interns and our student teachers. It's also another opportunity, similar to the interview process, mentor teachers. That's professional development in of itself. Reflecting back on my own teaching days, you're looking for baby steps out of the classroom and more responsibility. Some people are apprehensive to take a big leap to being perhaps a teacher in charge or a vice principal or a department chair. You can start by mentoring new teachers. And so we have to teach our mentors, we have to mentor our mentors on how to mentor. So we really have to think this all the way through. Our comparability study, doing the work, making sure that we sustain our attractive packages and culture and opportunities. Future teacher development, as Shelley illuminated, we're really focusing our efforts in expanding and building those CTE educational pathways. We know that the CTE ed pathway at Elk Grove High School is really taking off, so we do have a model for success there, and we want to build upon that success, and really get an MOU eventually with CSUS so that Someday, students of ours who graduate from our educational pathways, perhaps with meeting certain criteria, certain GPA, we can have an MOU where they're guaranteed admission into Sac State, and after 4 to 5 years, they graduate with their BA or BS and a credential, a teaching credential, and then they come right back here and serve the community in which they grew up in. Continue to offer and look at different authorizations, how we can subsidize, help inspire teachers who we already have to expand their horizons. We have many, many successful general ed classroom teachers who, if we help them subsidize and provide the time to do this work, they'll be fantastic special education teachers as well. Shelley spoke to the Future Teachers Club. We're very excited about that. And I think that grant as well, the current cohort of the 21 dual multiple credentials through that grant through the CTC is another successful effort. And then our performance management, evaluations and quality instruction. Again, moving away from a culture that is so prevalent in education nationwide that the evaluation process is some sort of gotcha type of process. We need to continue to reinvent the culture of evaluation, have it seen as a professional development exercise. So many teachers, excellent teachers, they want administrators to come in. They want to engage in discussions on how they can enhance their teaching profession. So we have to look at the full spectrum and constantly working with our existing staff on how they can grow so that they can grow others. Some other ideas under development, under workforce planning, continue to work with RED on human analytics, continue our research as to best practices and approaches to cultivating diversity. In terms of talent acquisition, selection, and placement, we want to take the show on the road. We didn't have the resources to do it this year, but we found the Bay Area event to be very, very successful. We want to take the show on the road to areas like Oakland, San Diego, San Jose, Los Angeles, and perhaps other areas in the U.S. as well. We want to expand remote interview capabilities to further recruitment reach through video interviews. So we might have opportunities where logistically it's difficult to interview someone from Florida or Georgia or New York. But if we have an initial screening where we have the interview, then if we have the resources, we could perhaps arrange to bring people out, particularly for administrative positions. People development, create guaranteed admission and scholarship opportunities for the Future Teacher Club participants with Sacramento State, I just mentioned that. And continue, keep this cohort of 20 to 25 classified employees. We should have a cohort for every year. Just keep coming and coming and coming. And that is a very diverse cohort, so that works. And then continue to enhance our onboarding and performance management. It starts with day one with our onboarding, introduction to Arbinger. Here's the culture of the district. Welcome to Elk Grove. We are committed to developing you. That's what we want the message to be as people come in. And of course, continue our work with leadership development, really mapping out that spectrum of training from substitute all the way up to cabinet level positions to really have a program in place, a leadership curriculum all the way through. So needs, what do we need to make this happen? Our partnership with the communications department is just invaluable. We would not have the success that we've had thus far without that partnership. So we want to continue to refine and enhance our branding, advertising, our outreach, budget for talent acquisition, selection, and placement. We will continue to pursue grants. You will see proposals from me in the future because many grants are matching. It's very rare to encounter a grant that will cover everything. They want to see a commitment from the district, want to see us have some skin in the game. Capacity and resources for high schools to foster the development of the future teacher clubs. Really being very deliberate in our messaging and really have an audience with our teachers. If you encounter young people who you think will make exemplary educators, start fostering that. Start having those conversations. Start your own future teachers club. It needs to be a real concerted effort. Assistance and participation from current certificated staff and encouraging recommending high school students to pursue education. And then, of course, capacity and resources to continue the cultivation of new teacher mentorships and leadership programs. That's it.
That's it, he says.
That's it.
Thank you. I think I'm due to start questions and comments on this side. Mrs. Allen, anything from you?
Wow. A very thoughtful and thorough, dynamic presentation. I commend all three of you. Can I get a copy, though?
Sure.
We don't have it in our,
Not an agenda online.
Excellent.
It wasn't on the agenda, we can send it in.
Okay. I'm just gonna different points, because you've covered them all, but I mean, it's just fantastic. You know, you mentioned the teacher shortage and then the diversity issue, so we're dealing with two issues. And I see an excellent plan of how to tackle that. So I commend you on that. And different sort of strategies on recruiting outside of the box, which is very important. You know, I've gone to many career days in middle schools and even some high schools, and people aren't raising their hands to go into teaching. And that always makes me very sad. So I really, really, really like the future teacher development, because this shortage will only grow every year. It will get bigger. And so hopefully sooner rather than later, we will see these students raising their hands and wanting to go into this dynamic profession. So I definitely think that that's very, very good work that you're all doing. And I also really like the supporting of the gold pot that we have within, how to cultivate that and make them stronger leaders, because we do have excellent teachers here, and how do we support them and groom them into leadership positions to go on to be principals and even district staff. Because you know, the diversity from my board member lens is all aspects. It's within the executive level. It's all district office managers and leaders. It's principals, site leaders, teachers. I'm looking at it from across the board, not just, you know, can we get more teachers, more principals, but it's the whole spectrum, because that is something that we need to be accountable to. Is that aspect of it. So I think that that's great. I really like the advertising and all of the different strategies that we're utilizing. This is, I don't have the answer to this, but how do we penetrate those different cultures within maybe their own specific media? And I know this all costs more money. Every effort costs more money. So I recognize that. But, you know, just sort of beyond all the great work that we do, if there are newspapers, organizations that we can really target, I'm sure they're out there, you know, how do we penetrate that and get people excited about coming here? That would be of interest, just as one more outlet that we're already looking at. Let's see, any other questions? I think I've covered at least what I wanted to cover, but that was just an amazing presentation. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, so congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
So I'm similar in the same, my colleagues' comments. I think it was a great presentation, very in-depth. I really liked how the cohort program is, and that joining there and that collaboration with Sac State. I was just kind of reflecting back on my own journey and how before, when I worked for the district, I was a classified staff person, a paraeducator. And, you know, I was thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful to kind of collaborate with our community college as far as getting them kind of a streamlined pipeline there for classified staff from the community college, because we all know you have to have so many units, you know, to be classified in the classroom. And then from there, creating that pathway to continue on, I think is really instrumental and important. And so I could see maybe even being at the community college fairs too. And then as a paraprofessional, you're always looking for ways to advance on, you know, and our district has a salary placement based off of the education and units you're taking. So I think, you know, that's another incentive for our employees to continue on with getting their bachelor's degrees and then their teaching credentials. I just see this really being a wonderful tool, you know, as far as recruitment goes. And then I just kind of go back to even our branding, if we could, I look at Sac State, so, I don't know if there's like copyright things there, but I was telling my colleagues the other day, they have little buttons saying made at Sac State. And so I received one the other day from the vice president of the college. And for me, if we could even have something like that for our graduates, like made in Elk Grove or something like that, or Elk Grove Unified, I'm a product of this district and now I'm coming back to this district to work in the district. I think something like that would help talk that story and that journey for the student, and then now returning back as an employee or staff member. And so those things, I think in the future, there's so much potential there to help with the recruitment. And also, I know Sac State's been really great about having their yearly multicultural education conference. I just attended that about 2 weekends ago. And at that conference, there's a lot of potential teachers there and diverse teachers there and communities, because some of the topics range to social justice and kind of what the societal changes are going on in today's time. So that might be another recruitment avenue to be able to get some more teachers and educators, because you have counselors there, you have teachers, you have just an array of different people in different positions that attend that conference because it's free. So that might be another way to recruit. But again, I commend you all for your presentation. I really enjoyed seeing the numbers and really seeing how, going and recruiting in San Francisco, kind of seeing that laid out and what we got back from that recruitment effort. So again, looking forward to the future and the work to be done here. Thank you.
Very good report. Another suggestion I have, first of all, what I liked about the upper mobility from paraprofessionals going to the upper level, actually the classroom teacher credentialing program, excellent. And I've seen those programs work at other school districts and throughout the whole United States. I would suggest that you get the list of the eligible Hispanic serving institutions of the United States, and I think there's maybe 5 to 6 of those institutions. UC Merced, UC Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, UC Davis is the process of getting that designation, but they all have teacher educational sections, and start recruiting from them, because to get that designation you have to be 25% Latinos or Hispanics. So there's a high concentration within those colleges, so you could directly go to those. And also at the state universities, there's a list, also on this list, of about 8 to 10, I think, California state universities that have educational programs. What's the federal government doing? I know, like, when I went to my teacher corps program, 73, 75 at Sac State, it was an internship program, which they gave you, $800 a year, a month, I think, tuition or internship. And do they have those type of programs that we could possibly partner with the federal government? Or also, I've seen other recruitment drives in which, in the Bay Area, the actual school districts pay for their homes and, get a commitment to, 5 to 6 years of, paying off, or, give them a low-income interest loans, or also tuition payback, student loans. And if they work for our school district, they get 10 to 20, 30% off. And they do that within the health professional area. And for dentists and doctors, they get federal loans, and they work in low-income areas, high schools, Title I schools, and get it right. Have we been researching that arena?
Yeah, that's a very common approach, where the cost of the housing market is untenable for those working in education. So I'm very familiar with those kinds of programs. They have very modicum success because teaching is a profession, and I know from exploring some of those programs on the peninsula in particular, there's a little apprehension. I'm a professional. Do I need to live in a dorm? Some of the models for these district-sponsored homes is you're living with the people you work, and they're not buying homes independently, but they're actually building complexes where teachers will work. So I haven't seen something that has been wildly successful. I think it's actually the advantage that we have over, and that's why we're targeting some of the more expensive areas to live in the
Bay
state
Area,
is
correct.
because you come here, with your starting salary, you can afford to rent, you can afford to
Buy.
have a plan, you can afford to buy
Right.
property. So that's our great advantage, and that's why we go out to these areas with this sort of one-stop shop program where, hey, talk to a real estate agent.
Right.
See what the market is. Do a mortgage calculation. It's affordable. It's tenable. And I think, in talking to all those people in the Bay Area, that's what they were most excited about. They wanted they wanted to find a community that they could contribute to and raise their family and live like the people they serve. You can't find that in the peninsula, in the Bay Area,
Well,
in many areas.
To me, I did my demographics of Elk Grove and all this community the last 20 years. Everybody from the Bay Area sold their $500,000 homes and came by here and bought the $300,000 homes. Well, there were $1 million homes over there, and they had money in the bank. They buying homes cash. So I don't understand that. There's a lot of people from the Bay Area that that they're like, I think they're branding us. You're talking about its cost of living is good here, the quality of life, crime's down, and this and that. So they're kind of, pushing this area geographically. Very well done. Very well presented. Good job.
Thank you for a great report. I think we, when we try to think outside of the box, I think it even goes as low as grammar school. And when my older children buddy little kids, and to make that a positive experience and call you a teacher and you're teaching and you're helping, and I've got two out of 4 right now that want to be teachers, and it really did start with those simple things. Obviously, I talk very positive about teaching and was a teacher, but they got to do it, and when they got to help little kids, it was a really neat experience for them and a really good learning experience. So I think we definitely, teachers need to talk about how great their jobs are. They have great jobs. They have very hard jobs, but they have great jobs, and so that's what I talked about at the job fair when I got asked to speak.
Oh, I just want to say one more thing. I saw you out there in action in job fairs. You guys go out there and meet and talk at people's level. I want to say that also. Very good job out there.
I just wanted to mention on that one point, in doing the research and also looking at videos that we want to produce and getting the story out there, oftentimes when we were asking teachers, administrators who are currently here, what got you into teaching, all the time it was, well, I remember when I was in kindergarten, I remember when I was in first grade, I remember, when I used to line up my kids, my dolls like this, and I used to instruct them. Just time and time again, people do remember at the elementary age of wanting to be and emulate that environment. I remember doing it when I was little. My dad had stamps. He always brought them home to me, and my mom had a grade book that she gave me. And I had imaginary people or imaginary stuffed animals all the time.
Imaginary friends.
Exactly. So it is one of the stories that we are looking at, and that's part of the video and things that we want to get out for the next time.
Thanks very much. Mr. Madison, anything?
Yeah, I don't have any really questions except that it was a very detailed report. It was very informative. I look forward for results, and that's what we want to look at as we move forward. A couple of points that hit home to me was, number one, the professional development. I think that's critical when we bring on new teachers, that we have the dollars there, that we can also have professional development so they can become effective deliveries to our kids of all ethnicities. And then the other is evaluation of teachers. We've been talking about this I've been on the board a long time, and we've talked about evaluation, but we haven't gotten there yet. And I don't know how we are with our bargaining units, but that's something to me is very critical if we're going to have retention and see where we're at in the future. But outside of that, it was a wonderful report. Thank you.
Anything, Mr. Fortuna?
Yeah, just a couple things quick. Yeah, first of all, the report was really, really thorough. It had clarity. What was good, it was easy to follow. And so I'll be looking forward to having a copy also. And just follow up with what Chet said. I think probably everybody in the room agrees on the value of evaluation for all employees when you look at development, and I concur with him. I've been on the board for only 6 years, not 20?
18.
And for 6 years, we've talked about evaluation, and like zeros happen for a variety of reasons. And so just would hope that evaluation can move forward and that we can do what needs to be done to provide the support to people who are doing a good job so that they can do an even better job, and to help those who don't quite make the mark. Teacher Corps, great. And chiming on what Beth said, you know, we've talked in the past about the possibility, and I don't expect a response, but the possibility of looking at designating one of our elementary school sites as a focus site so that we could start early on, not start at high school, start early on, and begin developing people. And it would be great to see how that idea could move forward, but really, really good to have the clarity. Thank you.
Ms. Chidas, if I may, I have one follow-up question. It relates to a little bit of what Mr. Madison and Mr. Forcina touched on, but very specifically, you know, it could be a touchy subject, but I'm going to put it out there as something that maybe we should look at. But teachers that are on that probationary period, we're talking about professional development and all these other opportunities to make ourselves better and stronger. You know, sometimes a teacher may not be the right fit for maybe a site, but it would be, given what a dire situation we're in terms of a shortage, I would hate to have missed opportunities. Somebody who's passionate but may not have all of the skill sets maybe finely tuned, are there opportunities to reach them? So I put that there. You don't need to answer it now, but
That's in the food for thought department.
food for thought.
Thank you. So I will be brief. That was an excellent and very comprehensive presentation, and I concur with all of my colleagues' observations. Really quickly, on a more technical note, is it possible to post the presentation on Agenda Online in a way that's accessible to the public even after the meeting? That would be helpful, just because there was so much great information. I think that might be of interest to members of the public. I was very pleased to see the way that you guys are evaluating these recruitment efforts. You know, a lot of times we kind of look at inputs as opposed to outputs, and particularly the fact that you were following through with teachers to see if they made it past the probationary period. I was very pleased to see that, so hope we do more of that. And I love everything about the Future Teachers Club, and let us know what we can do to support that effort. So Ms. Albiani points out there's a nexus to the equity work. So can we also post a link to this report on that equity page, since there's a nexus there?
I think it's an excellent example of how hard we are trying to meet that goal. And the numbers are very impressive, and the fact that we have them, then you know where you're at.
Okay, share just one thought, just as a kind of a crossover. So we've been doing the Arbinger work, and one of the things we focused on with the Arbinger work is having a diverse group of folks that are the trainer of trainers, so classified team members, administrators, and teachers. And what's come out is from our classified folks who were, and they'll come in and testify to this, scared to death about the idea of getting in front of colleagues and teachers and actually being the facilitators. And a couple of them at the last PI meeting made the comment is, well, I got these thank you notes for the work that we did, and they were so appreciative. Is this what it's like to be a teacher? I think I want to be a teacher. So it was pretty phenomenal that you're seeing the crossover as their personal development is leading them into places they never saw themselves, being able to do. So it's good stuff.
Very good. Folks, you've been standing for a very long time. Thank you again, and we will let you take your seats. let most of you take your seats. We're only going to let David visit his seat. The colleagues, we have a few action items, all of which have been on our agendas before, so they are up for public hearing and action. The first one, which will be presented by Mr. Riley, is the tentative agreement, I said only visit, tentative agreement between Elk Grove Unified School District and the Elk Grove Education Association.
Hello again.
Welcome back.
All right. So I originally wrote the rationale and the recommended motion before we knew that EGA ratified, so I'll modify my prose here on the spot. As we just learned, the tentative agreement was ratified by a vote of the EGA members, and the AB 1200 review has been approved by the Sacramento County Office of Education. The Elk Grove Unified School District Board is asked to approve or ratify the attached 1718 and 1819 tentative agreement. In addition, Education Code Section 3540.2 stipulates a fiscal review by SCOE of negotiated agreements to determine the financial impact of the agreement on the district budget. Therefore, the AB 1200 report, which provides the financial analysis of the tentative agreement, is attached and was submitted to SCOE for their review. Subsequently, I am asking the board to approve or ratify the tentative agreement between EGA and EGUSD.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. I'm going to call for a public hearing on the tentative agreement between the district and the Elk Grove Education Association. Seeing none, I'm going to close that public hearing and call for a motion to approve the 2017-18 and 2018-19 tentative agreement between the district and the Elk Grove Education Association.
Second it.
Moved by Ms. Singh Allen, seconded by Mr. Bettis. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. Thank you, colleagues. Mr. Riley. Yes. That passes with our thanks to our partners in the classroom. Mr. Pierce, go right ahead.
All right, thank you very much. I will be brief. Again, as you mentioned, this was heard before the board previously. It has been open for public comment since March 30th. All of our partners at local jurisdictions, as well as the North State Building Industry Association, has been privy to this study for the past 45 days. I will tell the board that we were working closely with the North State Building.
Can I ask you to pause? I should have read the next item. So I have as item 2 the SMUD commercial solar shares.
So this is a simple procedural and housekeeping item to keep us consistent with the government code, which is the authority to allow us to sign the solar shares agreement. It does require a public hearing. It has also been published for 30 days. We've received no comments as a result. So you could simply open and close the public hearing, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, I'm going to call for a public hearing to receive comments on the Sacramento Municipal Utility District's Commercial Solar Shares Program. Seeing none, I'm going to close that public hearing. Not seeing any questions, so I'm going to call for a motion to adopt resolution number 77, authorizing the installation of energy conservation measures and authorizing an exemption from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Move approval of Resolution 77.
Moved by Mr. Fortuna and seconded by Mr. Madison. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, colleagues. Now, Mr. Pierce, if you want to talk to us about the adjustment to school facilities fees.
So 2 more resolutions before you, both 65 and 67. 65 establishes the commercial developer impact fee of 61 cents throughout our district. It is established by the state. Resolution 66 establishes what's known as the level 2 fee, in this case $5.65. Again, it's been open for public comment pursuant to law. We did receive some communication from the North State Building Industry Association starting early last week. I do want to thank Chrisanne Giles with them for coming to staff and having the conversation and the dialogue. They are now comfortable with the study. They don't have any comments or protests along those lines. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have, and this will establish your developer impact fees for the next year.
I'm going to call for a public hearing to receive comments regarding the adjustment to school facilities fees. And seeing none, I'm going to close that public hearing, and seeing no questions, I'm also going to call for a motion to adopt the findings contained in resolutions number 65 and 66, approving the adjustment to level 1, level 2, and level 3 school facilities fees.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Albiani, seconded by Mr. Forcina. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Pierce. Next, we have board member and superintendent reports. I'm going to start to my right this time with Mr. Forcina.
Have had no committee meetings?
Mr. Matson.
Yes, I had a committee meeting with the Elk Grove scholarship that we're going to have this coming Thursday. We've got 176 scholarships that we'll be giving out in the amount of roughly $226,000. And it will be held at Creekside Christian Church. We look forward to seeing some of you out there.
At 6 o'clock?
5:30.
Question, Chad? For this year, have you had new scholarships this year? And I don't, you don't even need to name them,
Yes,
but.
yeah, we have, but I can't name them.
Yeah.
And one thing in the meeting that we did discuss a lot about the increasing of scholarships that we're looking forward to.
That's great.
As well, too. And
Excellent.
with our budget.
Ludi, I think on our paper it says 6 to 8 for that scholarship dinner. Can you double check and send out a reminder to confirm the correct time on there, please?
Yeah, I think it's 5:30. They want to get everybody in. Yeah, to start out, because it's a long night.
Whatever it is, I just want to be there at the right time.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Anything, Ms. Albiani?
Nope.
Nothing. Go right ahead.
I attended the CSBA Directors Regional Meeting with the other school districts in the region, and I learned that Natomas Unified has a method for their incident reporting, and their turn back timer to respond to when they go onto their website, they said is anywhere in between like a couple minutes to 5 minutes. So I thought that was really great, because when people are going online to report bullying or incidents at their school sites, they're able to respond within a quick amount of time, is what one of their district or their board members had reported out. So I thought about taking a look. I did take a look at their website, so it might be something to look forward to maybe in the future for here.
I attended the Partners in Education meeting on the 25th. And major items of discussion, Mr. Mate did a presentation on what's called self-service password reset utility, which is short for making it easier to reset passwords. He'll have information on that later. And then we also discussed Arbinger planning, our upcoming teacher of teachers, trainer of trainers, those dates and who would be attending, and level 200 training, future PI dates, including the participants. So I really do attribute a lot of the work that happens at PI for a lot of the collaborative work that we're doing out in the community, and as a result we've had our teacher agreement. So all good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you much. I have no official report. Mr. Superintendent?
I'm just very excited we got the tentative agreement ratified and approved with the teachers. Huge step, and we've made a great deal of progress with our other units as well. So it's a very exciting time of year. Thanks.
Awesome. Other items from the floor. I will start to my left.
I do want to commend Monterey Trails. I was able to go out and view their senior projects of their graduating seniors, and they told some exciting stories of their 4 years being in high school and what it was like to go through that journey. So I want to commend those students, and the principal over there is doing a really excellent job with the students as well.
All of us in this room are very proud of our children, and we always have been, always will be. But I would like to publicly state that as of this past Tuesday, Elk Grove Unified School district has a new administrator that will begin in July, and that is my daughter, Kristen. And really happy for her. She'll be at Catherine Albiani Middle School, and she's looking forward to that, and we're looking forward to that, and a new chapter.
Congratulations.
Lost to the classroom, gain for in a larger area.
Folks, just a couple of quick items from me. I want to thank Ms. Albiani and Mr. Madison for participating in the day-long principal interviews earlier this week. Mr. Forcina, I'm sorry, wrong one. Giving credit where credit's due, Mr. Forcina, thank you so much for representing the board in those very important interviews. I participated in a panel that was part of a CTA advocacy training. There were teachers from all across the entire state up over the entire weekend, so they were there Friday through Sunday, and I participated in a panel that was exclusively school board members. So it was actually really encouraging to have a discussion with teachers that want to have better communication with their school boards. And we had some great dialogues, heard about some situations that are not as collaborative as ours across the state, which is unfortunately to be expected, but it was a very encouraging conversation overall, so it was nice to have that opportunity, and also to have an opportunity to brag about the Elk Grove Education Association and all of our education partners here. So with that, colleagues, thank you very much for a good meeting, and meeting adjourned.